All right, we'll get started. Good morning. Welcome, everyone, to the Bureau of Automotive Repair's quarterly advisory group meeting. This is our fourth and final meeting of the calendar year 2025. My name is Patrick Duray. I'm the chief of the Bureau of Automotive Repair, and I want to welcome all of you who are attending both in person and remotely to today's meeting. We have some introductions that we'll do at first of our advisory group members, and then we will have a few staff introductions, followed by a brief statement from me about the expectations on the meeting and how we wanted to proceed. We haven't done that in the past, but based on some comments we received following our last meeting, we thought it was necessary to do so. Let's begin with introductions, and we will start with all the people in the room first, which is very few today. We'll start to my far right.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Matt Webb. I'm with the Preventative Automotive Maintenance Association.
Good morning, Dave Cusa with Automotive Service Councils of California.
Good morning, Bud Rice with the California Automotive Business Coalition.
And we are expecting one or two others to appear in person. We'll next go to our bar advisory group members who are attending remotely, and we have a special request for all of you so that the meeting attendees can see you and know that you're there and participating. We ask that you turn your cameras on. We'll start, moderator, if we could, with the introductions of advisory group members who are attending remotely.
All right, let's go down the list in alphabetical order with first names. Jack, are you available?
Yeah, Jack Molodanoff on behalf of the California Auto Body Association. Good morning, all.
Megan, please.
Good morning, Megan McKernan, Automobile Club of Southern California.
And Ruben?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Ruben Parr with California Automotive Teachers.
And Ryan?
Good morning, everyone. Ryan Perini on behalf of the California Automotive Wholesaler Association.
And it looks like we're about to get Dean. Hold on just a moment, please. Dean, are you with us?
Good morning. This is Dean Schlingman from the Specialty Equipment Market Association.
All right, and that's everyone we have online.
All right, thank you very much, moderator. Now we will do a few introductions of the executive leadership team at the Bureau of Automotive Repair, along with myself. We have three deputy chiefs. Linda, if you could just quickly stand up when I call your names and introduce you. Linda Jansen, Licensing, Administration, and Consumer Services Division. Clay Leak, Smog Check Engineering and Information Services Division, Deputy Chief. And Bill Thomas, Deputy Chief for Field Operations and Enforcement Division at BAR. Okay, good. And we have a few introductions as well of our team who is helping facilitate this meeting today. Our moderator, you've already heard his voice and you can see his name up on the screen. DCA's moderator, David Bowie. Thank you, Mr. Bowie, for your services today. Bryce Penny, who is waving his hand in the background. Thank you very much. And Zach Richardson from the executive office, who is a co-moderator and assistant of all sorts to these meetings, and to myself and our executive leadership team. I have a brief statement that I'll read regarding meeting procedures. This is new, and as I hinted at a little earlier, it came up as a result of some questions and comments that we got relating to the timing of the meeting that was in July. We ran a little bit over our scheduled time frame. The agenda does allow us to go over it, does talk about or mention the fact that the meeting could be until the close of business, but we never expect it to run 45 minutes over its scheduled time. So that was a quite unusual, and in an effort to try and keep things moving along and get us all out in a timely fashion and as scheduled on our agenda, we've got the following comments. This meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act, which ensures that all meetings of state bodies are open and accessible to the public. Before we begin, I'd like to review our standard procedures to help ensure a productive, respectful, and inclusive meeting for all participants. First, to our advisory group members who are participating remotely, please keep your cameras on for the duration of the meeting to support transparency and engagement in the meeting. Each agenda item will include 15 minutes for advisory group member discussion, followed by an opportunity for public comment. And during that public comment period for each agenda item, members of the public will have up to 2 minutes to speak on the item that's been presented. We ask that the comments stay focused on the specific agenda item being discussed. There will be an opportunity to comment on any issues not listed on the agenda later in the meeting under agenda item 9 today, public comment on items not on the agenda. Before providing a public comment, we will ask everyone to please state your full name and the organization or business you represent. We ask that all comments be thoughtful, concise, and professional and respectful. Disruptions will not be allowed, and time limits will be enforced so everyone has an opportunity to speak. Now, I'm not sure who's going to be doing the timing. I will look at my watch as closely as I can to keep to the 2 minutes, but I think we'll kind of all hope that everyone can keep those comments to a minimum. Thank you for your cooperation and participation today. All right. So without further ado, we'll start with our first agenda item today. Legislation and regulations update. Holly Helsing from the Bureau's Executive Office. Good to see you, Holly.
Now, can you hear me? Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Holly Helsing here to give you the legislation and regulations update. The first slide shows important legislative dates. Bills must have been signed or vetoed by the governor by October 12th, and the statutes take effect on January 1st, 2026. And as always, before continuing, I want to remind you that we do try to put the most current information on the slides and in my presentation. Although given the nature of the legislative process, information shown here may not reflect the latest updates. So please be sure to check online for most current information. For example, on the next slide, when this presentation was published, not all these bills had been signed, but all 3 of these bills were signed by the governor and filed with the Secretary of State, which I will review after the next slide, which shows the bills that died in committee. These are the smog check exemption, vehicle traction batteries, and the smog check exception for collector motor vehicles. On the next slide, the first bill that passed was AB 987. And this bill expands the list of presumptively unreasonable fees related to vehicle storage and towing. This is to include storage fees charged for state holidays that exceed the posted standard daily storage rate, and towing fees when the owner is directed by a law enforcement officer to remove their vehicle at the scene of state or local emergency. The next bill that passed was SB 774, and this bill extends the sunset date of the statute that prevents disclosure on the Bureau's website of a citation for violating the Automotive Repair Act if the ARD had taken remedial training from a Bureau-accepted training provider, extends that date to January 1st, 2028. The last one that we're tracking that passed is a technical cleanup bill. It updates cross-references to the Business and Professions Code in relation to the vehicle safety systems, inspection stations, and technicians. Those are the bills that passed that we were tracking. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
No, doesn't look like it, so please proceed. Thank you.
Next, I'll review the regulation packages. The first two slides show the packages that have been adopted this year. There were 6 of them total. The first one is a technical cleanup to update terminology from Bureau approved to Bureau accepted educational certifications. Next one, we added new definitions for clarity of change of ownership, change of address, and responsible managing employee. And in that one, we updated cross-reference sections. We also did a technical update of code sections. And on the next slide shows the 3 more substantive ones. The tear down disclosure requirements for ARDs package became effective on July 1st. The smog check readiness monitor limits became effective October 1st. And the mobile and referral service for ARDs and online advertising also became effective October 1st. And there will be a presentation regarding that coming later in this meeting. Next is the pending regulation packages, and starting with storage fees charged by ARDs. This package brings together existing laws governing storage fees, providing that fees charged for the storage of a motor vehicle are reasonable, when fees may be charged, and where the vehicle may be stored. This also makes clear that an ARD must provide an itemized invoice for storage fees. On the next slide, this package also provides that ARDs who provide storage fees must post their daily storage rate and report it to the Bureau every year when they renew their registration. If an ARD also tows vehicles, they must post the towing and storage fees access notice. And finally, BAR will create a website tool to show average and median storage fees by location using defined geographic areas around each ARD. Next slide. This package has been submitted to the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency. And once they approve it, we will begin the 45-day comment period. The next package is the change of address package. This removes inconsistencies in duplicative text in current regulations by clarifying time frames for reporting material changes. Specifically, notice of a change of address must be reported within 14 days, and notice of other material changes must be reported within 30 days. Right now, we are currently in that 45-day comment period, and that ends on November 17th. The last package, it updates the smog check manual and the vehicle safety systems inspection manual to add the words "or newer" to the permitted types of the biometric palm vein scanner model, so that as newer models become available, they may be used in addition to the originally listed model. This package, since these slides were written, has been approved by agency, and the 45-day comment period will begin tomorrow and close on December 15th. And that is all I have for the regulations portion. Any questions or comments?
And before we open it up for questions, there are a number of other packages which we're working on very early in the process, earlier than even some of these pending ones, the 3 that you show listed here. And so if some are wondering where those packages are, they'll be coming, they'll be reported, but we're still working on the language with legal counsel and our staff who are assigned to these various bills as subject matter experts. Let's open it up for questions on either the legislative or regulatory portions of Holly's presentation. Anyone here at the table? did have a new attendee, a member joining us. Just if you could, Les, introduce yourself and the association you're representing.
Sure. Apologies for the tardiness. I'm Les Weiser. I'm with CNCDA, California New Car Dealers Association.
Thank you very much, Les. Anybody on the dais here to comment or have questions? Okay, we'll open it up for advisory group members who are attending remotely. A moderator, could you ask if around the table there, the virtual table there, if there's any comments from our advisory group members?
Absolutely. We're going to ask people to raise their hands to speak. We'll call people in the order that hands are raised. And I'm not seeing any hands up from our members.
All right. We will now open it up for public comment regarding Holly's presentation. Anybody in the room here? Mr. Lopez, please come forward. Definitely have to put a timeline on this guy. I'm just kidding. Only kidding.
10 minutes. Hi, Gene Lopez with Seidner's Collision Center. Holly, thank you for your presentation, Chief and Advisory Board. I just have to be reminded around the storage fees upon renewal and the market rate. There was an average market rate that we were going to agree upon. Do we put our own number on there? Do we go look for that average cost in our market? I think it was 7 other repairs or 10 other repairs in our market. Has that been disclosed? Is that readily available information?
The package is still being worked on. The latest version is not out for comment yet. We do have an earlier draft, or the last draft that we workshopped from January. You can take a look at that. That'll be as close as you can get to the draft that we're working on, but it won't be the same because we heard a lot of great comments at that workshop in January and made some significant modifications as a result.
So our next renewal, January 26th.
Oh, that won't. January 26th would, well, if the regulations get adopted by then, we will then have that reported at that time, I think. Or will it be something different? I thought you might be shaking your head that I was off on a tangent there.
Be adopted by January
2020. Oh, excuse me, I was thinking January 2027. My apologies. You said you were coming up for renewal in January. Oh, yeah, the regulation package won't even be close to being adopted until sometime about the middle of next year, I'm guessing.
Zach, can I recover 30 seconds for this?
I took some of that time of 2-minute times.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a good question. Anybody else? Get back to you. Let me just, because we're in the middle of the public comment portion. Oh, we do have a timer up there, so that helps. Thank you so much, moderator. Anybody else in the room regarding Holly's presentation? Moderator, could you open it up for public comment on this topic on the WebEx?
All right. We are taking comments online for Holly's presentation. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users, dial *3 to raise your hand. And our first request is coming from Alyssa Jacob. Hold on just a moment. We're going to send you a request to unmute your microphone. You'll be given 2 minutes to speak, and I'll give you a 15-second warning before your time expires. Or 30-second warning, my apologies. Alyssa, are you with us? All right, I saw you were able to unmute. In fact, you're unmuted right now. All right, hold on just a second. I'm going to put... All right, Alyssa? I've done something else. Are you able to speak now? I'm going to take a moment since you are the only person requesting at the moment, to see if we can get a technical slide up that might be able to help you. Bear with me just a moment. I've got a visual on screen that might be able to help you go through your options. We're going to give you just a moment longer to see if we can solve this. I heard a noise. Is that from the room? Or did we get audio from Alyssa? All right. I'm sorry, Alyssa. I think we need to move on.
Moderator, is there an option for Alyssa to type in a question or comment relating to this?
I can open up the chat. Hold on just a moment.
And we've lost visual here. Yeah, we got the blue screen. No signal.
All right, Alyssa, I've opened up chat. You can find that in the lower right corner of the screen if you're on a desktop computer. If you're on a mobile device, you may need to hit the ellipses button. That's the ... in order to find the chat.
And moderator, we're having some video. Okay.
Alyssa's asking for someone to define reasonable.
Which reasonable on which package?
Fully stored.
On the storage?
Fully storage fees.
And can geographic area also be defined?
It's in the package. I don't have that right now.
Yeah, we don't have the package in front of us right now, so I think we'll have to do that in a subsequent meeting once the package has been posted and noticed for public comment, or potentially after it's been adopted. I know we've covered that issue, but I don't think anyone here was ready to discuss that regulatory package and the details of it.
Next, she asks, are the existing DOI regs going to be referenced? And is it safe to assume that DOI means Division of Investigation?
No, that I believe means Department of Insurance, which goes by a
CDI.
A different acronym, CDI, so California Department of Insurance. The question was, is CDI going to be referenced in those regulations? Again, I don't have the package in front of me. I'm not remembering any references, cross-references to CDI in that package. I'd have to take a look at it. Yep, that's a good comment from Mr. Richardson. We've got Holly's email. If Alyssa would kindly send her questions to Holly, we can have that answered, those two questions answered following the meeting. Moderator, any other questions from participants?
There are no other requests online.
Okay. We did have a circling back, I think, Bud, did you have a question or comment relating to this presentation?
Yes, real quick. Thank you, Holly, by the way. I wanted to comment on what we had heard a minute ago about should a shop, when they're trying to figure out what they want to say is their rate, should they say their rate? Should they say a different rate? Should they say what they think the rate should be? I think we ought to say what it is. And then from that, you can get a true reading of what the marketplace is. So if shops are trying to pick and choose and guess about what things are, I think it might skew what the real data is. So if your storage and holding fees are this, just say what it is, and then we can figure out where to go from there. But don't try to second guess what's going on here. That was my comment. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. That'll definitely be something that we would welcome on the record once the regulations are noticed and go out for 45-day public comment, which, if it doesn't happen by the end of this year, should be first part of next year.
It's an estimate, but I would definitely think it will happen before the end of this year.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, yes. Yeah, that package we've had workshopped many times, 4 to be exact, and the current version of it that is being reviewed, I'm not remembering some of the details of it off, so I think we'll be better off if Alyssa were able to email those questions specifically to Holly, and then we can get the responses back to her. All right, thank you very much. All right, our next presentation, as Holly referenced in her presentation, is an update on the newly adopted, I think it was earlier this month, regulation package dealing with mobile automotive repair, referral services, which we're seeing more and more of in the automotive repair arena, and online advertising. And those regulations, Bill will tell us when they were actually adopted, what day they took effect, and some of the details of the provisions in this package. Welcome, Bill.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. And thank you to the advisory group and you, Pat, for allowing me to speak today. Hopefully this is a informative and maybe even somewhat entertaining presentation. I doubt there will be much entertainment value to it, mostly informative. So yes, the mobile repair, referral services, and online advertising regulations became effective October 1st, so the first of this month. And there are several provisions of that regulation package that I'm going to discuss here today. The first is an applicant for registration as a mobile ARD, mobile automotive repair dealer, must provide a physical address where records will be maintained. It creates a 50-mile limit for brick and mortar exemption from mobile ARD requirements, and all of these I will discuss a little further in the coming slides. Requires a mobile ARD to record on the final invoice where the repairs are or were performed, and relocates online advertising requirements to apply to all ARDs. Next slide, please. Okay. So for mobile ARD applicants for an automotive repair dealer registration as a mobile repair entity, it requires the applicants to provide a physical address where the records will be maintained and available for bar inspection. So obviously we can't go to a post offices, post mailboxes, et cetera, to review records. There's no records there. We need an address where we can go and look at records and review records as is required by statute. Another change to the mobile ARD application requirements and just the requirements generally for a mobile ARD is an existing ARD. So currently there's, if a brick and mortar ARD, if a brick and mortar established registrant has a mobile truck, they can send that truck out without registering it separately as a mobile repair entity because it's attached to that physical ARD that already has an established registration at that location. There's now a 50-mile limit. So the intent there is so that an ARD, a brick and mortar ARD that has a registration here in Sacramento can't have a truck down in Los Angeles performing mobile repairs attached to that same ARD. There needs to be a reasonable limit. And that's what the goal of that is to establish a 50-mile limit. So if a existing brick and mortar ARD with a physical location has trucks that go out and perform repairs, and those trucks exceed 50 miles, those trucks will need to be registered separately as a mobile repair facility. Next slide, please. And in addition to some changes in the application requirements regarding where records are stored, we've also made a couple of changes on the regulations, made a couple of changes on what needs to be reported on the final invoice. And that is to get an idea of where the repairs took place. That could be helpful in bar complaint investigations and is best for disclosure for the consumer, so everybody's upfront and knows what's going on and what took place in the transaction. So the mobile ARD will need to record on the final invoice either the physical address where the mobile repairs were performed, possibly the consumer's place of business or something such as that. If there is no physical address, say it's on the side of the highway somewhere, a description of the location where the repairs were performed, such as the street and nearest cross street, a landmark, a mile marker, freeway on-ramp, off-ramp, et cetera. So it's just to record on the invoice where the transaction took place as a mobile, not just somewhere out there in the universe. Next slide, please. Referral services. This change came about as a result of some legislation a few years back that gave BAR the authority to require referral services to be registered with the Bureau as an automotive repair dealer. This is consistent with the Business and Professions Code that says, anybody that collects compensation for automotive repairs must hold an automotive repair dealer registration. So if an online referral service is, if a consumer types in, I need to get my water pump replaced, and an online referral service link pops up, and they engage in business with that referral service, and that referral service is take it to Bill's Auto Repair, and it's going to be $200. You pay us, you just take the car to Bill's, and Bill will perform the repairs. That entity is collecting compensation for automotive repair, even though they're not turning a wrench, to quote an old phrase. They're not performing the repairs, but they are collecting the compensation. So that entity should be registered to be consistent with the statute. So registration as an ARD of any person or entity engaging in the business of collecting compensation for automotive repair services that are referred or sublet to another person or entity to perform the repairs. This includes a referral broker or concierge service that collects payments. This also includes an online retailer of automotive parts that, in addition to selling parts, arranges for installation of the parts, and the installation is part of the purchase transaction. So there are online vendors that sell parts, automotive parts, including tires, and the transaction includes the opportunity to purchase the part, and the same as the example I just gave, they will provide a referral to somebody to install that part for the consumer. And they collect compensation for the labor to install the part. That's collecting compensation for repairs, and that entity would need to be registered. Next slide. And this one, there was some discussion around this one with the Office of Administrative Law. Referral services includes engaging in the business of collecting compensation is defined as any payment or other benefit provided to the person or entity that confers value, including discounts, rebates, or gift cards, unless such offer is made to members of the public. What that means is I'll use Bill's Auto Repair as an example again. There's a referral service, Zach's Automotive Repair Referral Service.com. And you go to Zach's, and Zach doesn't collect compensation. Zach just says, hey, here's a list of shops in the area, including Bill's. You can take it there for repairs. For every referral that Zach sends me, I give him a $10 gift card, or I work on Zach's car free of charge, or something like that at my facility. That is compensation under the new regulation. Zach is receiving compensation for that if there's some sort of exchange or benefit provided from the ARD to the referral service in exchange for providing more referrals. So that's what that regulation section means. Next slide, please. Oh, this is the fun one. Internet advertising requirements for automotive repair. Internet-based advertising requirements for mobile automotive repair now apply to all ARDs. So when we were reviewing the mobile automotive repair regulations to make some of these changes, the aforementioned changes, we observed that this advertising regulation was under the article and section in the California Code of Regulations that only applies to mobile automotive repair dealers. And that's a fairness issue, if you will. BAR would prefer that our regulations, unless specifically related to performing the mobile automotive repair transaction, they should apply to all ARDs equally. And so, innocently enough, we moved this from mobile automotive repair to ARDs to apply to all ARDs equally. It requires an ARD to clearly display in any online advertising the firm business name as registered with BAR, the ARD registration number, and the phone number as registered with BAR. And as we go to the next slide, I will talk a little bit more about those three requirements. The number on the phone number, ARD phone number expectations. The number on file with BAR must be an active number that will be answered should BAR staff need to contact the ARD owner or RME, which is representative managing employee. The ability to call ARDs is an essential function of our regulatory responsibilities. An example, consumer complaint investigations. And I have an example that I gave, and bear with me, I'm going to give that example. We moved in, my wife and I and our children at that time moved into our home in 1992. It was 1992. We had a landline. We had that, it was with Ma Bell at that time, hooked up and had an actual physical phone connected to it. We still have that number all these years later. It's now part of my internet package. It also includes a phone service, and the number is there. I don't have a phone hooked to that. There's no phone jack with a phone plugged into that number. Every now and then I go check the voicemail through the website just to make sure people haven't tried to call me. And that's usually the number I give when I want to sign up for something and they want a phone number. That's the one I give to them because they're going to call with advertising. So I still have that number, but you're not going to be able to call me at that phone number, and I'm never going to answer that call. BAR can't have ARDs doing the same thing. Having a phone number that was attached to a phone line 30 years ago, and that's the number they submitted when registering with the Bureau, but there's no phone plugged into it anymore because it's now a voice over internet. And we need the ability to, whatever number is on file with BAR, a BAR rep needs to be able to call that number and have somebody answer it during normal business hours. And obviously we're not going to call, we called them at 3 a.m, they didn't answer, let's issue a citation. No, nothing like that. It'd be there's a reasonable expectation that we can get a hold of somebody. However, as we were politely informed when this regulation package became effective, or shortly before it became effective, phone numbers are now a marketing tool and an advertising tool and used to determine what modes of advertising are best reaching consumers. And so there will be different phone numbers. Now, my vision and my understanding of this is that all of these phone numbers in all likelihood still route to that same physical phone number through the magic of the internet, but they're just used because that way with the voice over internet, it can track what number was dialed and therefore pinpoint that number to a specific advertising medium. So call tracking numbers like that used by ARDs in internet-based advertising to measure the effectiveness of different marketing campaigns to consumers are acceptable. The number that's on file with BAR needs to still be answered. ARDs can change their phone number and other business information on file with BAR and I would normally put a hyperlink in, but you can't click a hyperlink on a PDF on the website. So it's at bar.ca.gov/licensing -ARD/update. And that's a good place to enter. Make sure just the number that's on file with us, and it should appear on the internet-based advertising on your website. We've gotten a couple other questions about this, and I'm just going to say them now, and hopefully maybe it'll stave off questions. And what about Google searches that point to your website? Does a Google search pop-up need to have your ARD number on it? No, as long as your website, where they ultimately end up, and where the efforts to solicit that consumer's business take place, the ARD must be there. And I was talking with a couple of advisory group meetings, advisory group members before the meeting. Easy for me to say. That's something that's should have been a long time ago. It actually will help us with our unlicensed enforcement because it'll help to educate consumers on the importance of that number. The more they see it, the more they become educated about it. So we're very rigid about the ARD number appearing prominently on your websites. The phone number, we'll figure that out. And that concludes my presentation. Oh, excellent. Well, I got an email about it the other day, and I've just been so busy, I haven't responded to that email. So hopefully it was maybe the same person. So.
And I think, I don't know if it was alluded to or mentioned, we are working on a cleanup package to account for the marketing campaign issue. I don't know exactly what the language looks like, and we did take a look at it, or we were working on it. This first was brought to our attention a few weeks ago, and it's being looked at by our legal counsel.
Right. And we've discussed a couple of possible solutions and to address that. And, going back to Holly's presentation, those 45-day comment periods, those are very helpful to us.
With the hyperlink in your presentation, if you look at it on our website, you can't click on it.
And our website is bar.ca.gov, and you can scroll down to the bottom and see advisory group and get to my presentation. It's all of my presentations are there.
All right, thank you, Bill. Let's open it up for comments or questions from the advisory group members. And I'll look immediately to Dave Kusa to my right here.
Bill, thank you so much. I apologize that we didn't catch this in the 45-day. I don't know why we were sleeping on this, but we could have answered a lot of questions. So the referral service initially, referral services that would refer a shop, but there are also online places to go to get someone to come, they will have, pick this technician, Dave's a great technician. He'll come to your house and, fix your car, right? So I'm not necessarily an employee of this referral service. I'm just a guy out there. I assume I would have to have an ARD. I'm the one that's going to get paid. Well, I'm not necessarily collecting it. I'm getting paid to fix the car, but I'm not an employee of the company that said Dave will come to your house. Do I have to have an ARD as that person that shows up to the house to fix the car?
I have a great answer for that. It depends.
Okay.
To answer that question, so if the website has a list of technicians they work with that they send out in various locations, but they still collect a compensation. It's all about who collects the money. Who collects the compensation. They would have to be registered. And then that would actually be a sublet to you. And if you only perform sublet services for registered ARDs, you don't have to have a registration.
Okay.
So no, you would not.
Okay, so one or the others would have to have the ARD. Got it. Okay. And then if I am an ARD, shop, licensed shop, and I, have the tire company send the tires to me, right? That the consumer pays the tire company for the tires. I just install them. Is it incumbent upon me at all to make sure that that supplier is compliant with bar regulations, or is that just bar's problem?
That's bar's
good
issue.
Thank you for the phone numbers. That relieved a lot of stress, clarity on the tracking numbers. That was going to be a big problem, so that problem is solved. Onto the marketing thing. So a great idea. I'm surprised we haven't had to do it before. I think it adds a lot of legitimacy. Contractors have had to do it forever. Some clarity and issues that might come up with this. So website easy, right? No problem. What are we? I'm not asking you to define online marketing, but we do many different things, right? So we will do an email blast to our customers saying, 10% off air conditioning repair, sign up this week, right? Only good till Friday. Does my ARD have to be on that email?
Not under the current regulation text, because it's just the online advertising. So the email is a medium to reach out to them. And I assume they can click, but it's still not an online. The online advertising requirement points to anybody can get there.
Okay.
That email is targeted to a specific person.
That would be my customers anywhere. Right?
Here's a coupon.
Yeah.
That's not an online readily available. Zach may not get that email.
Right. Yeah. Well, he's going to get it now since I know it's okay. But yeah. Okay, and you may have answered the Google question, but I need a little more clarity on that, right? So, AdWords, Google My Business, things like that, right? If you Google a repair shop, right, there's going to be a Google My Business page that comes up.
Right.
There is nowhere to put an ARD. There's no slot to plug it in. Would we need it on there? Or like Yelp, would we need our ARD on our Yelp page?
No, I would think not, because those are all going to direct to your website.
They do. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
Well, with that being said, they don't necessarily, Yelp doesn't necessarily have to. Google will,
right?
Because they pull your information from your website, so you have a website. But Yelp, there's a lot of marketing on Yelp that don't have websites, or Facebook, right? Where you're pushing out online advertising on Facebook. It doesn't point to you don't have a website. It can't point to your website.
So there's a coupon on there for Bill's Automotive that says, come and get a brake job for $59.95.
Right.
Different issue. So that is available online. It would seem under the text of the regulation that would have to have the ARD number.
So in that particular case, right, so again, where I as the business can put information on Yelp is very limited. Name, address, phone number. There is a place to put a narrative like, hey, Auto Trend's been around for 100 years, family owned, yada yada. Can I put my license number in that narrative?
Yes.
Okay, that answers that question. Thank you.
But again, it's as long if the page, the page on Yelp, your page on Yelp, on Facebook or whatever, has an advertising component to it of, here's a service, come to us and print this screen, take a screenshot of this on your phone or whatever, and bring us this piece of information, then it's considered an advertisement. If it just says, hey, Bill's Automotive does great work, go see Bill.
Yeah, no, and I get that. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times Yelp, Facebook, those kinds of things, Instagram, whatever, right? There's going to be an advertisement. So if there is a
advertisement,
a way to say, come help or come do business with us, here's an incentive to do that monetarily, right? Give a discount or whatever. We need to have it, and in the narrative will be okay. There's no way to put it on the coupon on these sites at all, right? But in the narrative would be acceptable. Good, okay. And then lastly, so previous to this, I know, we have 11 minutes left.
They gave you 20 minutes?
I thought 15, but well, I'm going to take all 15. So if I Google Auto Trend Auto Repair, right, there's 18 different directories that show up online. 10 of them I have nothing to do with. I can't get access to it.
Right.
I don't necessarily think there is any marketing on there. So as long as it's just an informative page somebody created on my behalf without my want or need, then it doesn't need my ARD. But if it has some sort of coupon, then we would have to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good questions. Thank you, Dave. Les Weiser with California New Car Dealers Association.
Hi, thank you, Bill. I just have a quick question, and apparently I wasn't paying close enough attention in that 45-day comment period either, but it's kind of dawned on me. Going back to the exception for the brick and mortar location within 50 mile.
Right.
So my question pertains to, for example, if there's, oftentimes we'll have one owner that owns multiple points, and each of them has an ARD, but each of those ARDs has to be individually licensed. So let's say they've got multiple points, but only one of their points does mobile repair. Is there any consideration for, like, they might have like a central location that goes out to all of their customers? It's a single owner, but separate locations, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the 50-mile rule would apply to that one as well, even if it's going to other locations.
So they may be still within 50 miles of one of their other stores, but if that store's not doing the mobile repairs, that wouldn't be their registered ARD address.
Right. That if that mobile repair truck, van, whatever vehicle is attached to a specific ARD, then the 50-mile limit applies to that specific ARD.
Okay. So
And
then
it can't
they
be
would
transferred over to
the other. So then that particular location would have to separately register their mobile services. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Webb.
I think this question's come up already, probably in the 45-day comment period, but just to clarify it again. So the folks that have multiple locations in one region or statewide for that matter, so they put an ad on Instagram for the $59.99 brake job like you're referring to at Zach's Auto. And so what is the, there was a workaround, I think, right? So if you had 30 locations, are you putting all 30 ARDs on that ad? Or how would that look?
So what the general thought is right now is that if they're able to put the address of each of those 30 locations on that ad, and so it's Bill's Auto Repair location in Rancho Cordova at, I just drew a blank on our bar headquarters address, 10960. Anyway, maybe I'm not there enough. That if there's an address, then it's a specific location and it should have the ARD attached to that address on the online advertising.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, it'll be a, you'll have a landing page where there's a specific offer, but not all the time. If, like, hey, we're going to do $10 off wiper blades the first time it rains.
Right.
And that came up a few weeks ago. Someone called me, actually. They said, hey, I'm doing this. I know there's a new regulation pretty soon, or it's in effect now. I'm doing this wiper blade promotion. How do I do this? And I said, that's a good question. This person had like 10 or 12 automotive maintenance shops in the LA area. So I think there's still a little clarification maybe on that, because on some ads it's easy if it points to a landing page or your website,
right,
which has all your ARD information, then that satisfies the requirement. But on some particular types of advertising where there's just an image, like a coupon or whatever that, or people come show their phone. That's where it gets a little hairier trying to.
And that's why I think, we've had discussion on this, that kind of ad, I wouldn't think would have the address of specific locations. It's go to one of Bill's Auto Repairs locations and see this. For a list of location, go to their website here, which would have the ARD number. But if the ad just says, go see Bill's Auto Repair and doesn't list an address or anything, then I don't think the ARD would, because it's not pointing to a specific location. It's once you start drilling down and the advertising is directing them to a specific ARD, then the number for that ARD should be on the ad.
Sure.
Yeah.
Does that help? Okay. Yep. And any follow-up questions, for sure, reach out to us.
And we will continue to probably post some best practices on our website.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We have some Q&As devoted to this topic. Was there another question here, Bill? Bud Rice.
I had a couple of questions, and then I wanted to kind of follow up a little bit on what these guys were saying. I was with you pretty good here until we talked about the last thing that Matthew was talking about. I would think that a marketing piece targeted into a marketing area should reflect that information in that area. So if you had 17 locations and you were targeting North Sacramento for the 2 stores that are in North Sacramento, then I could see where that piece should be targeted to those locations for this service, and here's their information. Why would you have to put all 30 locations on it when that's not the intent of the marketing piece, which is directed to these 2 stores? I just didn't want to be confused as to what you, because it almost sounds like you're saying, if you have a marketing piece, you want all the stores on it. You want everything, all the stores to be listed on all this stuff. No, that's not what you're saying.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if they're listed, or if a specific location or a couple of specific locations are listed by address, the ARD should be there. The information should be there on the ad.
For those specific locations.
Right.
Okay, I'm with you. That's okay. Yeah. Thank you. On that same topic, we're kind of playing with the idea of, Dave was kind of saying that you do have some limited spacing on some of these things in terms of what you can put on things. You just run out of space, basically. Right. We're maneuvering around to where our address actually has that stuff in it. So you might say Bud's Automotive, and usually you'll have a place where you have address 1, address 2, city, state, zip.
Right.
So you might say Bud's Automotive, the address, city, state, zip, and the ARD and the phone number are all actually embedded into the address information. So from a place where you're entering address information, you're actually entering the ARD and the phone number as part of that. It's almost like address 1, address 2, and in there is where you have that information listed, as well as being able to go to the website and finding all this stuff. So I think shops are trying to figure out, how can I be compliant, stay within the rules, give everybody what they need, and still be able to utilize what the marketplace has for the advertising pieces that they offer. I mean, so we're trying to squeeze things into square peg into a round hole kind of a thing. So I just wanted to say that. Second thing is on your one thing here where you were saying that the information, the 50-mile radius, and you have to be able to have these invoices that can be looked at. And then you made a comment of, well, yeah, but it's not a PO box, right? It's not a PO box. But it can be a storage unit, right? Can it be a storage unit? So the address is 185 unit 151. That's where the stuff is actually stored for that location. And it is a location, and you can call me and I can meet you there and you can look at the boxes if you want. But that's not the same as a PO box where the stuff's not there, but it is over here. Is that okay to use a storage unit?
Yeah, unit numbers happen all the time. And I say the mailboxes, et cetera, I misspoke. I should have said postal connections because we did have an ARD. Actually, a smog shop tried to register with a postal connections physical address.
Okay, thank you. And then next thing was when we were talking about the referrals, I want to make sure I understand the flow of responsibility where if Zach refers something to you, you're saying and you're paying him for that referral. He has to have an ARD because he's part of that mix, right?
Collecting compensation for automotive repair services.
Okay, so if that's true, if you had a franchisor that is only in the business of providing franchise opportunities, but are not the operators of the locations, but for that, they get a royalty or a franchise fee off of services performed, are they required to also have an ARD? And if the rent of the location is a triple net lease, where the landlords are getting a piece of the action based on what happens at the location, do they need to have an ARD? Because it almost sounds the same as when Zach is making the referral and getting a piece of the action, the franchisor is getting a piece of the action, and the triple net lease landlord is also getting a piece of the action, so they all need to have an ARD.
Excellent comment. We'll take it under further discussion. I have a story about the landlord issue. Well, so we have some unscrupulous actors that we've revoked their registration, but they own the property.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've gone through and said, I'm going to rent it to my nephew to run an automotive repair dealer. But as a revoked person, they can't have a financial interest. And so we've made that argument, but we keep those.
All right, let's move along with other advisory group members. There's only four or 5 minutes left on the clock, but we can always circle back. Moderator, advisory group members who are attending virtually.
Jack is our only person with a hand up for the members.
Well, how do you like that?
Oh, I spoke too soon. Megan's also got a hand up. Jack, if you're available.
Minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah, can you hear me? This is Jack.
Go ahead, please.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Bill, for the presentation. A couple of comments or questions. So I know with regard to listing the ARD number on the online advertisement, I know that this has been something that the industry has been kind of pushing for over the years because of whether they're mobile or whether they're brick and mortar. You've got this unlicensed activity where the shops feel like we should have a level playing field here. They've complied. They're complying with all the laws. They have the BAR registration, and then a guy down the street is competing with them, and they don't have a BAR. They're not registered, and they may be advertising on Craigslist, right? And so this is something that I think the industry was supporting. With regard to, I'm not necessarily picking on Craigslist, but with regard to Craigslist, so now that this law is in effect, is this something the BAR can actually, follow up with, again, a Craigslist or other platforms and let them know that the law requires that any online advertising, the register, the BA or the shop needs to provide a BAR registration number, right, along with their name and phone number and that sort of thing. Is this something the BAR can, help in terms of enforcement? Rather, at least get the platforms out there engaged as well, so they comply with the law.
Our focus is always, and our authority is always to the person performing the repairs and their registration status, and always will be. However, it does seem that there's now something we could point to. We've had conversations with entities like Craigslist, and there has been very little value to those conversations over the years. We don't get any traction with them, and we will continue to do that. I can't speak to how those conversations will go, but we will certainly use it. Now that there's a specific law to point to, maybe that'll give us a little bit more leverage.
Yeah, that's my point, Bill. I think you do have leverage now because that's what the law says. And so I think they have some responsibility when they're collecting this information, or at least when the shop is providing the information. Thank you on that. And then with regard to some comments that were made, I don't know if they were Pat or yourself. You mentioned providing some frequently asked questions or best practices on the advertising. Stuff. I think that's a good idea. I try to do that for some clients, and I know that it seems like maybe some positions are starting to adjust here a little bit. And I think this is something that would be very helpful to the industry because I know there have been a lot of questions, and I think the frequently asked questions, or like I said, best practices or examples, would be very, very helpful. And I would encourage you to be able to do that.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
We've already got a bank of them from Dave, Bud, and yourself. So thank you for getting us started on that project, because we did go through an exercise of answering a number of questions that came up as a result of the regulations taking effect on October 1. Let's open it up now for public comment. Do we have another advisory group member?
Megan is next.
Oh, my apologies. I thought it was just one.
Hi, I'm Megan McKernan, Automobile Club of Southern California. So my question is very specific to us. So we have our approved automotive repair network, which is a network of independent and repair facilities as well as dealerships. And on our website, for our members, we have our facility locator. So if a member is looking for a place to take their vehicle for repair, they can go onto our website and find one near them. And we list their address and phone number. Would that constitute as advertising, and we would now need to add the ARD license for all of our facilities, the ones that are in California at least?
Excellent question. I would think not, because your website is CSIA's website and not the ARD's website. So, no, I don't. I would think, no, you wouldn't have to, but their website would. But okay. We'll take it under further advisement and discuss.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a good question. Thank you, Megan. Public comment. Yes, Gene, come forward.
Hi, I'm Gene Lopez with Seidner's Collision Centers. Bill, thanks for the presentation and answering some of these questions. Advertisement versus marketing. Is it not the? It's not the same, right? Okay, so let me, and we'll put it on our website. But is a website a form of marketing or a form of advertising? We're not selling anything on there. We're just informing people of who we are and where we are.
It is promoting your business.
It is.
And there was a interpretation of that, and I don't have the quote in front of me, but website is considered an advertisement under this regulation package. Okay. And the link for all of that has support in existing law outside of BAR, but I don't have all that memorized right now. And so
okay,
I mentioned it during the presentation. I think putting the ARD on your website benefits the industry, the registrant, and consumers, right, and helps BAR.
Right. Now on our estimates, and certainly the final invoice, we have that information specifically in the top right-hand corner of that document. Is there a specific location on a website where our ARD should be placed?
No, just readily viewable. And we've had people putting the ARD and phone number in the footer. next to the contact us information. So no, there's no requirement in the regulation, and BAR can't.
And how is it identified? Like on our estimates, I believe it says bar number or bar license. Yeah, and that's what we need to put on the website as an identifier, not just a number.
Yeah, it should. Again, going back to Bud's comments of character limitations and space limitations, there's no regulation, there's no provision in the regulation for BAR to say it must be in X format. I would encourage you to capitalize and leverage this to show your registered status with the Bureau, to say something to the effect of California registered license number such and such, ARD, and then the 6 digits. But again, there's no requirement in reg of what that has to be. And it could be as simple as ARD 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah. QR codes. So I was thinking, if you have an ad and it was for 30 locations or 13, and the QR code could, I don't know, on a QR code, you could put locations with Bureau of Automotive Repair or something like that. It's just an idea. I'm just thinking that, is there another way for the BAR and ARDs to, put that information.
30 seconds.
Put that information out that doesn't give me enough time to speak while I'm up here. No. No, so that was just another idea. And I lost my train of thought about Facebook and Instagram. We do a lot on Instagram, so we got to figure out a place to put that on Instagram and Facebook. I don't know where to put it unless somebody else has an idea. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Gene. And I think the original regulations that we didn't change the text of these regulations in any way. We just moved them to a different article. And there might be an opportunity, and we'll take it under consideration and discussion, to address Facebook, Instagram, X, and all the other mediums out there.
All right, next public comment, yes. Hi. Welcome back.
I know, sorry, boys, I'm a timer exempt. Christina Kubrin, 352 Innovation. Have you considered rearranging the ARD numbers to a hierarchy so that, like, if one owner has a bunch of locations, you assign a primary license number, and then so if somebody typed in that, then all the subsequent ones underneath it would go, and then you could arrange it by zip code or whatever. And then when they go to advertise, they can put the one hierarchy number, because that would pull up everything underneath it.
Excellent suggestion, but it has implications with our licensing database, the consumer affairs system, which is fairly archaic, considerably archaic. And it would require an IT project of scope that's probably beyond our reach at just this moment, at this current moment. But it's a great idea. A lot of great ideas that just aren't feasible. And that one, I think we'll take it under consideration and have conversations with our licensing management of, is there things we could change? But again, in the current structure that we're limited to, it would be a challenge.
I would highly recommend you talk to some IT people before you discount the idea, because you wouldn't have to change any numbers. You would just reassign how they're connected. Just a recommendation.
There's one in the back I talk to more than I want to.
We'll have some internal discussions about the feasibility of such a
I figured that would help.
Implementing it.
I figured that would help a lot, because then people could just put one number regardless of the locations. And just on another note, California has a goal of 5 million zero-emission vehicles on the roads by 2030. And that would estimate about over 5,000 shops at a minimum to support that. And I was wondering if you guys were going to be keeping that in mind to encourage people to start offering EV service and to help maybe make the process a little easier. It's just a suggestion, so it's a little barely connected to this specific topic, but I wanted to keep it in mind. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moderator, do we have some public? Oh, we did have another hand raised here in the room, so my apologies. Please come forward.
Hello, my name's Sam Noriega. I'm with Smog Check Plus. You know, one of the BAG members mentioned about reaching out to some of these platforms like Craigslist or Facebook or whatever. In the past, all those were free to post. Nowadays, they're sponsored posts. And so now there's probably at least a credit card connected to some of these people who are posting these things. So it may be worth trying to at least reach out to them because now there's some data tied to the actual posters. I'll share with you this one post right here from Facebook. This is me. It's not me, it's me in the picture, but somebody's paying for this, saying that I'm offering $180 Smogs All Pass. And it's a sponsored ad, so somebody's paying for it. It's not me. I'm not paying for that, but somebody is, and that person could be traceable. But I thought you guys looked into that stuff, but if not, I'd appreciate it if you guys do. That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. I don't see, was there any more comments in the room? Okay, we'll go to public comments on the WebEx. Moderator?
All right, we're going to start with where chat left off. We have a question from Erica W. I have a question on the internet advertising portion. Sometimes ARDs do not have their own personal business website, but instead utilize sites like Yelp. Yelp is independently owned, but often businesses are the ones who post their information on it. Would the phone number and bar license be required to be listed on such online websites, assuming it is the ARD who is in control of posting that information?
The regulation, great question. The regulation requires the ARD to post their registration information and phone number on their websites. Other websites, and as Mr. Kusa and I were discussing earlier, if they can put it in the narrative of Yelp, and if the goal on Yelp and the ARD places information there for the purposes of generating business for advertising, they should strive to get the ARD and phone number there. But since they don't own it's not their website particular, there may be some nuances to that we have to discuss and get into some frequently asked questions on our website. Hopefully that's about the best answer I have at this point, because we have to have more internal discussion and post some stuff.
All right, next, George or Jorge asks, the online ad regulations. A, for online advertisements, it seems that so long as the ad directs the user to the business website that has correct phone number and required info, are we okay, right? And B, if the ad shows a phone number, does it need to be correct bar number? And C, please confirm that alternates, hold on. C, please confirm that alternate call tracking numbers are okay, but online website has to have correct number.
All of those seemed correct. A was definitely correct, as long as the ad points to the website and the website has the required information, they've met the requirements of the regulation. B, in an ad that has a different phone number, that's a tracking phone number, as long as ultimately the website has the correct phone number, it's in compliance with the regulation, and that's also the same for C. So yes, all of those Jorge's or George's questions are correct. The understanding presented is correct.
All right, Josh Day. Once questions open back up regarding CCR 3371.2, can you confirm the following? 1. Compliance scope. A shop is compliant so long as bar listed legal business name, ARD license number, and official bar phone number are clearly shown on owned surfaces, e.g. the landing pages, websites, and Google Business Profile. They do not need to appear in the ad unit itself.
That is correct.
2. Tracking numbers in ads. For Google Ads and local services, ads are call-tracking/forward numbers acceptable as the primary numbers shown in the ad, so long as calls forward directly to the shop and official bar listed phone appears elsewhere. LP website GBP.
Yes, that if I understand, it's the tracking, if I understand the question, it's about the tracking phone numbers. And as long as the website shows the bar number, possibly in the footer somewhere on it, but there are other numbers that are more prominent because they're used for tracking and marketing purposes, that is acceptable. It's in compliance with the regulations.
All right, Josh Day continues. I appreciate the clarification on if shop Google business profiles contain listed bar business name, ARD number, and not a bar listed phone number. This is acceptable and compliant. For local service ads specifically, there's no depicted input that can show list ARD number. Shop names listed are also typically the friendly business name versus legal business name or bar listed name, ?
Yeah, I'm at a loss for words, clearly.
I would think the DBA has to be the approved name at bar.
Right, yeah. And BAR's licensing structure is such that we do have it, we do list the legal corporate name, and it would be Bill Thomas Incorporated doing business as Bill's Automotive Repair. And so if the friendly name Bill's Automotive Repair, that meets the requirement. That's the one posted, yes.
Yeah, if you go on the bar auto shop locator, it brings up the DBA.
The DBA generally, yeah.
Yes.
And Josh Day concludes with, on our end, local service ads, no website is typically listed either, since these ads are phone driven.
If it's not internet based, it's not under the purview of the regulations.
Erica W. Okay, thank you. That would be helpful for BAR to consider adding FAQs, frequently asked questions, or additional regulations to address posting on social media or other online platforms outside of the ARD's personal business website.
Agreed. Thank you, Erica.
And finally, our ever patient Adam Springer, we're calling on you next. We're going to send you a request to unmute your microphone.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Adam Springer. I'm with a advertising agency called Leads Near Me, based out of Atlanta, Georgia. Just had a couple of questions in regards to our clients that are based in California to make sure we are complying with bar regulations. I believe it was already answered, but the first one I was thinking of is having the bar information in the footer for each location on the website or the locations on their website. It is just that 6-digit number, correct? It's not. It doesn't have to say AR. I believe it's ARO00, and then the 6 digits. Just those 6 digits need to be shown.
The 6-digit, I would think you would need the ARD in front of it to qualify what that number means.
Okay.
So ARD and then the 6 digits.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question would be if their icon or like their logo for the company is different from some of our clients. Like some of our clients will say like so-and-so Inc., but their logo doesn't say that. As long as that information is present in the bottom, that's okay.
Yes.
And then, okay, thank you. And then the other, with the tracking numbers that we generally use, because we funnel traffic to the client through Google search ads, the main number that is predominant can be a tracking number as long as that number regulated with the or associated with the bar, registered with the bar, is in the footer and available and be shown, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then for Facebook specifically, on their Facebook, we do ads sometimes for Facebook, but just on our client's Facebook page, does the bar or the ARD number need to be present and shown displayed? Because I know usually their actual number registered with the bar is shown there, but does that number need to be shown as well?
I don't know that we've had a lot of discussions on Facebook, and I think we need to take that question under further advisement and post if that meets the definition of internet-based advertising.
Okay. I believe everything else is good because it does not need to be shown in the Google Ads ad copy because we are limited on character space. It's just as long as it's on the website that all that marketing is being forwarded to, that is good, correct?
Correct.
Awesome. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
And those are all of our requests for public comment.
All right. Do you want to? Okay. Yeah, we've got a couple of follow-up comments or questions from advisory group member Dave Kusa.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you again, Bill. So just for clarity, typically on the website, there'll be a tracking number up at the top, but we would want, BAR would want our registered phone number in the footer with the ARD and so on and so forth. Now, it doesn't have to be there, but the tracking number goes to the registered number on the website. Do I have to have my real phone number or the registered phone number on the website? Is that a requirement? There's no reason not to, right? But is it a requirement?
The regulations require the number to be somewhere on the website.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, that's and it is, and we've already we've already done that. So and then Bud brought up looking trying to put where to put the license number in your address or something like that. Lori Metzler with Kukui, my Google genius, says do not do that. It will mess up your the Google name, address, phone number, NAP, right? The Google will be very unhappy with that if it's there because it's not an address. It won't like it. Don't put it next to your business name on your Google listing. Oh yeah, you will disappear. Yeah, Google would not like that at all. It'd be a long time before you came back up in any sort of organic searches with the.
Well, we'll just have to get Google to change their business practices.
Yeah, good luck.
I'm sure we can pull that off.
Yeah, putting in the narrative's got to be fine, right? I don't have a problem with that, but yeah. I was just looking at my Google business listing, or it was a second ago, and it's not on my phone. It doesn't show my ARD. There's nowhere to put the ARD, but there's a link to my website, and there's not necessarily any coupons on here anyway, right? So. But it does link to the website, which has
an advertisement that just points a consumer to your website.
Yeah.
Having the information at the landing page where they ultimately end up do the business.
Yeah.
With you is where the information needs to be.
Excellent. That's what I needed. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for that comment, Dave, by the way. Thank you. Thank you.
Gene?
I think it's perfectly fine.
Gene figured if he sat down and then came back up, he gets 2 more minutes.
I don't. Silly question. Gene Lopez with Sidner's Collision Center. Can we put your website on our website? Can we put that link? Is that what you noted earlier? There you noted a link. Should that be on our website? Does it matter? Well, I'll do it.
I thought that was just a link to the presentation.
That was.
Yeah, the link was to the change of information page on our website where they could change phone number, address, corporate officers, all the stuff that needs to be updated.
That's right. That's what it was.
We have our website is a public website. It's a government website. Please, you go right ahead. Yes. You want to link them to our website?
Don't open the lion's den's door. If they're pissed off, we might as well make it.
Thank you, Gene. Okay.
Quick interruption from the moderator.
Yes.
I have closed the chat in order to maintain a little bit of order. For those of you who are online, we're going to ask you to raise hands and voice a verbal comment. Chat was opened for the one person who was actually unable to do so. Going forward, please voice your comment.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Bill. And we'll be working on some of those Q&As we discussed and some clarification in the follow-up regulation package on some aspects of the regulation that we discussed here today. Let's take a 15-minute break. It is now by my 10:59. Let's just come back at 11:15.
Bonus minute.
Bonus minute, yes. I'm so nice. All right, welcome back from the break. We will move on with our next presentation. It's entitled Hidden Dangers of Counterfeit Airbags. And here to give us the presentation is John Ruttencutter. I think I've pronounced that correctly. I went through that a couple of times earlier this morning with the Automotive Anti-Counterfeiting Council. Thank you so much, John, for coming to us today, and you brought a friend with you to help present. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the group. My name is John Ruttencutter. I'm the manager for the Automotive Anti-Counterfeiting Council. I've been involved with them since 2012. Back in that day, I was actually working for Homeland Security as a criminal investigator, and that's how this group come together. I have with me today Bob Stewart. He's actually the president of A2C2, as well as he is the brand protection manager for General Motors. He brings a lot of experience as well to the table today. So I brought him along because I am not a technician. I know we have an audience of technicians. Bob is what I would call the biggest technician in our group. Who we are with the A2C2 group, we identified an issue, what I'm bringing to your attention today, and it's not just a small issue, it's a very large issue. We've been fighting this for a very long time, and we do fight with the online platforms and other sources out of China thing to kind of hamper this. In the last few years, we've been taking our messages out to the field, talking to technicians, talking to insurance companies, talking to folks that could really help us put an impact on stopping the dangers of counterfeit auto parts, specifically counterfeit airbags. We use the counterfeit airbag as a messaging tool for us because the danger behind that is really obvious as it comes to light more often than we like to even talk about. It's sad that it happens. The group came together 2013, 14, formally 2014, and we have 11 brands, or 11 members of our group. And if you guys know that, you work with the automotive manufacturers all the time. They're very, very competitive. In this environment, they are not competitive. They all share the same mission, and the mission is to take counterfeit parts out of the stream of the supply where they're not making it to the street where someone can get hurt or injured with a failed part. We have ways to get a hold of us. The brands are very open. We have they answer emails on a regular basis. These are not just generic emails that go to brands. This is people behind these email addresses will answer your call if you encounter a suspected part or a counterfeit part. There won't be no delay in the response getting back to it because we wanted to save a life. The agenda today, I'm going to go over some known counterfeit airbag cases. Composition, I'm not going to dive too much into the parts of an airbag because as you guys are technicians in repair shops.
This is the moderator. Would you be willing to hit that share button again? We've lost your visual.
Yes, sir. Now, this didn't happen in practice. You know that, right? Oh, we got that nailed down. Hold on here. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Share. How we doing?
We're in business.
We're back in
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Perfect. So I'll go through the agenda real fast. I know I'm limited on time, so that timer is going to be very important today because I'm very passionate about this, and you might have to say, John, it's time for you to go. So keep that in mind. Known counterfeit airbags. So you look at these vehicles that are here. This just happened in the last couple of years. You look at the damage on these vehicles, you would think, well, that should be an accident that the driver can walk away from. They did not. All three of these vehicles resulted in the driver being fatally injured. They didn't walk away. These are all collisions that have been under 30 mile an hour. And this is because this car was put back onto the road with a counterfeit airbag. And then when that airbag was told to deploy, it deployed in a manner that injured and killed the drivers. We've had to date 6 fatalities, 3 serious injuries, and that's just what we know. We know there's much more happening out there. When we talk to the first responders who respond to these scenes, as we started doing this last year, it's not uncommon for them to tell us, man, last month I had an airbag. Or the very next day after our training, they'll come back and say, hey, John, I just had an injury in Nashville. We did airbag training on March 7th, March 8th. He called us. 2 Honda CRVs collided, both the same year, make and model. One had a genuine airbag, walked away. The second driver did not walk away from that accident. This is some of the dangers we think that are out there for sure. We're noted to. Our mission at A2C2 is to put out the word, and we've talked all the levels of the government, from the basic state and local officials all the way up to the federal official. Been to the White House a couple of times. We want to bring it out to the field and to the technicians because we think we're missing that audience, and that's why I'm very glad you guys invited us to be here today to share what we're doing. You guys know the airbags are made up, and there's not a whole lot of parts that go with the airbag, but it's a very high standard of a part that goes through regulations. And we have engaged in a conversation with the airbag manufacturers who supply them to the automakers. And they're part of our working group now as a Dangerous Good working group. And they brought to our attention that, hey, these components, I mean, even if they're slightly not to regulation, they cannot deploy them, they have to destroy them. What we're finding out there in the wild, wild world is that there's a lot of folks making airbags that aren't meeting those standards, that don't even come close to even trying to meet the standard. They're selling it for pure profit. I ask you this, is this a genuine airbag you think up on the screen? And I can tell you it is not. That is a counterfeit airbag. The technicians and the engineers who test these airbags for us, they actually tried to tug on this bag and it would not come out of that housing. So this was a bag that, airbags, these counterfeit airbags will under deploy or over deploy. And I'll give you some examples of what that's going to look like. That is for sure a counterfeit airbag. This video here, when it started, let me start back to the beginning here. At 000, that's when the airbag should have deployed. So the accident already happened. This is a counterfeit airbag that was purchased online. We're already 167 microseconds into this accident. The accident's over, the smoke is clear, the first responders are coming, and then that's the deployment of that airbag in that vehicle. So you can tell that airbag was not going to help protect the driver whatsoever at that point. This is the broke down pictures of the airbag. When we were asking technicians when a car comes into the shop and they see something that just seems right, we're giving them some tools to reach out to us and say, hey, can you take a look at this? We'll be glad. We have teams that come out. We can share photos. We know what we're looking for. We have all the engineers for every brand that's part of A2C2 and not part of A2C2 on standby to help verify if this bag could have been danger. Even after the fact, when the car comes in, we like to be called and say, hey, yeah, we have an airbag that might be counterfeit in a deployed situation, or maybe before the airbag's actually installed, we'll be glad to help verify that bag as well. They're out there. There's hundreds and thousands of counterfeit airbags running around on the street, probably already in vehicles. This is another one, and again, at 000 is when this airbag should deploy with the accident. It was late deploying, and then you can see the pieces of the airbag that were flying through the air. Those pieces are what kills the drivers. Some of the pieces for this particular test up in the GM facility actually landed about 30 feet in the air. They had to get a scaffolding system to bring back the piece down for the test. All these airbags you're seeing today were purchased online and could be installed. The automakers buy a lot of airbags for testing purposes, to support law enforcement, to support other litigation we might have in court. They've never had one airbag bottom line deploy properly, not one single one. They all under deployed, didn't deploy, or over deployed. This is the little slow down pictures of the pieces that came out of that airbag. This one here, when I show you, you'll see again at 000, the airbag should have deployed. Now we wait. Accident's over. Now watch how long that the propellant burns after the airbag is deployed. Again, dangerous stuff. And it just keeps going and going and going. They do CT scans. So the automakers have engineers, and the engineers, the only ones sometimes can tell the difference between a legit airbag and a counterfeit part. It doesn't have to be the airbag, any part of that matter. The propellant inside of these, this is how the makers of this counterfeit airbag do not care. I always ask myself, coming from the law enforcement field, if you're going to put a fake part in a car, why would you add the explosive material? Why don't you just fill it full of handkerchiefs? They don't. They put the explosive material in there. And as you can see on the genuine side, you have two components or two areas where the propellant is stored, and it's stored in a way where it won't move. So when it goes down the road, the shaking of the vehicle doesn't break down that component, that propellant, to a place where it's going to explode and catch fire. So when we look at the counterfeit ones on the left-hand side of your screen, it's very easy to see that they backfilled it with the propellant and the explosive device, but they only got one chamber. You know, these airbags, you guys know, are designed to react in different ways depending on the amount of stress that is pulled on the accident. How one explosion, two explosions, push the bag out at different levels. Also, I think it's probably based on the weight and the passenger, if it's a baby carrier, if it's a person behind the wheel, how big they are and the weight. There's a lot that goes into an airbag from what I've learned from the airbag manufacturers, and they love to talk about it because they're all engineers. This airbag was pulled off the street in the state of California by California Highway Patrol. That was pulled out of a vehicle. So you don't want to be behind the wheel when that happens. And the lady in Nashville who was the passenger, that's how she described when her driver got burnt and killed in that airbag. That's what happened. This was taken off the inventory out here in California. This is a test that was done by one of our partners with Kia. You can see how the airbag deployed and pushed the faces right into this. This was the cause of death in Dallas where I'm not going to show you the video today, but it was the father who bought the car for his daughter on Monday. She was killed by the airbag on Wednesday. She went off the road, hit a tree at 30 miles an hour, and the airbag did not deploy, and her face hit the thing and it killed her. So she left behind two young kids. That's what keeps us up at night. And that's why we're glad we're here today. We work with NHTSA. NHTSA is always the friendliest with the automakers. I can say that because I'm not an automaker, but they are taking this to heart, and NHTSA is very much behind us. They have a team that is actually just to launch an investigation. Announced today, this morning, I got the email. They have opened up a investigation within NHTSA to go after a certain Chinese manufacturer who has been the cause of all of our deaths that we can point to. Not that they're the only ones out there, but the inflators that they design are what's lodging into the bodies and into the skulls of the drivers and killing them. Carfax is on our side. They do some numbers for us as well. We pulled up the state of California. They estimated there's probably, 56,000 cars on the road today in California with counterfeit parts. 56,000. We think that number is way low. We really do. We don't know what we know, but if you base it on airbag deployments coming out of salvage yards, with salvage titles being put back on the road, and then you base that on how many people are buying genuine airbags, that number is not even close to being the same. So if they're going back on the road without a genuine airbag, and that's the only airbag that really would fit into a car to operate properly, then all those other cars has some device in it that's not going to deploy properly. We work with the DOT with the pipeline hazardous material. They actually just gave us a letter this year telling us about the handling of this. These are Class 9 explosives. When they're identified as explosive, we don't know what they are when they come in with the unknown propellants inside of it. But there's ways to store, handle, ship, and also we work with ATF. The ATF has regulations and statutes over this as well. So the repair technicians, we understand that they have to put the car back together, and they're looking for the way to do it where they make the most profit out of the vehicle that they're putting back together. We just would like to text, okay, hey, take a second and think about it. Do you want one of your cars to be the cause of someone going down the road and dying on a 30-mile-an-hour crash? We work a lot on consumer awareness. We have calls with eBay every month. I'll be glad to help you with some of your things that you're talking about today when it comes to getting that out to the eBay guys, the Facebook guys. We talk to Facebook, Alibaba. We're on call with them every single month, pushing to get them to do more on their platforms to prevent the sale of counterfeit auto parts. I will say openly that all the platforms have prohibited the sales of counterfeit airbags except for, should I say it, eBay. So a 10-year conversation, that's still a struggle to get them to do it because the aftermarket, they feel that there's still a place to sell airbags online for the aftermarket sales. That will probably come back to haunt me. The cause of death. This inflator killed a driver. That inflator killed a driver. This is the company that we're investigating right now, DTN. So I'm sharing this with you because we know there's airbags, and we know that there's been thousands of airbags sold to consumers, repair shops all over the country. When we work with Homeland Security and they identified all the sales after we take down the guy selling the airbag online, then we look at who's buying those, and it's thousands of people, repair shops. We try to reach out to the repair shops and say, hey, we think you might have installed a counterfeit airbag. We don't get a lot of responses back. So we're here today to reach out to repair shops beyond that and say, hey, it's okay. Don't be afraid, but let's get that car off the road and back into a shop so we can help that consumer stay alive. So, if you guys, the message today is, if you're buying an airbag or you have airbags in your shop, pull back that cover. And if it has a DTN inflator in it because you bought it online from somebody, you need to contact somebody because that's a dangerous device and you do not want to install it into a vehicle. We do, like I said, a lot of these parts, counterfeit parts, and there's more than just counterfeit airbags out there. There's brake pads, there's filters, oil filters, there's spark plugs, there's key fobs, there's keys. All those are important to us. We believe every part of a car, the wheels, the rims. Case in South Africa, it was a counterfeit rim busted on a car. The car went off the ridge. All 6 family members were killed because the rim was not a legitimate rim on that vehicle. So we use the airbag messages out there, but all counterfeit auto parts are a danger, of course. This is what we see online. This is what we go after. We work with these guys, hire big time people to go out and surf the internet looking for the sale of counterfeit airbags. We've been successful in passing state legislation. California is one of our first states that accepted legislation proposal and made it so it was illegal to install and be involved with counterfeit airbags into vehicles. We're here to share that with you. We do work with the California Highway Patrol and the California Department of Justice investigators. They have active cases in California. Our last person that was killed was actually in California. It was a 39-year-old driver that was killed with the airbag. We were late getting notified because there was no next of kin. So, and how do we usually get notified? Car, accident, driver dies, they try to sue the automaker immediately. And then the automaker sends out investigators and go, I'm sorry for your loss, but it's not our airbag. Every part can be counterfeited. We have encountered every single part of a car to be counterfeited. So when you're out there buying parts and thinking about putting in the car, there could be a reason where that part might not react the way it should have when that car becomes under stress with an accident. And seatbelt restraint systems, I didn't know this until recently, that you can't just put together these things and put it back in cars, but yet people are selling pieces of this stuff all over the internet. So we actually are talking now with new regulations that we got out from ATF and those that the online platforms like Alibaba are going to remove these parts, and Temu are going to remove these parts, because you can't sell a piece to a seatbelt. It's just a precursor to someone that's going to get hurt. So there are ways to get the actual genuine parts through the aftermarket space or the OEM space. That's my quick and down. That's probably the fastest I ever presented this, Bob. So I should get some kind of award when we're done, like buy me lunch. Yeah, so open it up for questions. Is there any questions online or?
Yeah, that's a really outstanding presentation. I'm thankful for you and Bob being here today to share with you the outstanding work your organization is doing, and certainly interested in looking at how we might be able to support or partner with you in getting the word out about counterfeit airbags. We just recently incorporated into our vehicle safety systems inspection program, which is a presentation coming up after yours, a check for airbags. I don't know the degree by which that inspection, how deep we go into that inspection, but this is for vehicles that are with salvage title, or to get salvage title, a more comprehensive inspection that those vehicles never had that type of an inspection. It was just brake and lamp systems and a smog inspection. And a much more comprehensive inspection, including the check for the airbags and the passenger compartment in general, is now required. So I hope you'll stick around for that part of the agenda today. I'm going to open it up for some questions or comments from our advisory group members. Les Weiser with the California New Car Dealers Association.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. and pardon my ignorance, but is there any requirement for when you're replacing one of these airbags to like register the VIN? Is there any like registration online or no?
I believe, and Bob can help me with this, but there are some states that require the repair shop to give the inspector a list of the parts and where they bought the parts for. And an investigation in Florida where the driver died, we've been able to look back and find out the source of that airbag, and that's an ongoing investigation. I can't talk freely of it, but that's some of the things that it's nice when that is part of the law where the repair shop has to provide you receipts to show you the source of these parts. And then the inspections that are happening is very good. I worked with Highway Patrol a few years ago doing training, and every airbag they sent me was counterfeit. We did not have a false positive on any of the inspections. So, and they knew what to look for after our training, so it narrowed it down to what they were asking for. But they've been very successful in removing airbags. In fact, we're meeting with them tomorrow. They have an inventory of counterfeit airbags in their system right now that we're going to help them with, and maybe look for some of the DTN inflators on that. So.
Thank you.
I'd just add to that, that's one of our concerns is that, you know, as OEMs, we have to have recall responsibility. So all of that's traceable. So the companies shipping these in don't have those same requirements. So there's no traceability. And that's one of our struggles right now is the people buying them online that are repairing the vehicles are either putting them back through an auction, selling them through a used car place. We really struggle to get to that end consumer to notify them. The case that John was mentioning, in Florida, the Highway Patrol been there because every time I talk to him, he says it was a 22-year-old young lady with 2 young kids, said that he's on a mission. He's got 800 records. Luckily, the shop kept records as they were required. And he's been going through registrations and reaching out to those people to have their vehicles inspected. And the inspection's even a challenge. It's very tough to tell that these are counterfeit airbags.
Thank you.
Dave Kusa, Automotive Service Councils of California.
Thank you. Yeah, great presentation. This is pretty scary stuff. And, you know, for anybody that thinks this is not a problem outside of airbags, you know, I have personally held a brake pad made of cardboard, AC Delco oil filter that was stuffed with newspaper, and there absolutely you would not be able to tell the difference. And we even at my shop, we, you know, I bought a vehicle battery online. AGM battery that leaked, and AGM batteries can't leak, right? And, you know, when I called the manufacturer, they said we don't sell through that particular online source. So clearly counterfeit battery again, right next to the original battery, no way you could tell the difference. So this is a big deal. Yeah, but like you said, right? I mean, even in our salvage vehicle, you know, the safety inspection, or even, you know, a lot of shops will do a used car inspection but you can't tell. There's you know, there's no footprint on the scanner. You know, they got the right resistor in there, and that's all it needs to make the control unit happy, right? So, yeah. So thank you very much.
And that's, we want to make sure that as we leave today, that's why this group's together, to be that resource. When you have that, it's just this don't feel right. You guys know it doesn't fit. You must have quit. Right.
Yeah.
So, that's what we're here to do, and that's why our message is these guys are on call 24/7, sharing some photos through the email, and we can help you make a determination to protect somebody.
Yeah, and I suspect a lot of these that are getting installed in cars is, you know, Harry the homeowner, right, buying it online, or like you know, like Bob, like you said, that you know, it's somebody that got the car at auction, they're going to sell the car, and you know, they may not even know they're buying a counterfeit one, right? It's cheap. Right, and too cheap to be true, but they buy it anyway.
Yeah, that's what we always say, and I think there's a misunderstanding, and we're fighting a younger generation that it's cool to buy dupes. You know, it's cool, and they're doing that with auto parts, which is really scary. And you hear this all the time that this must be the second shift stuff. I'm just not paying all of the supply chain that has their hands collecting the percentages through there. That doesn't happen in this space, so yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, I'd encourage the message could have them visit our a2c2.com website. We keep that up with videos that techs can use, watch the videos about other counterfeit parts like brake shoes and where they just catch on fire after 6 applications. But when you go to a car fire, is anybody ever going to think that the brake is the actual thing that caused that was a counterfeit brake? So.
Yes, Matt, go ahead.
Sorry, but I didn't mean to cut in front of you.
Oh, did I? So it hasn't turned that direction yet. Sorry.
Since this is you know, obviously a significant safety issue, I'm surprised NHTSA hasn't done more? And maybe why haven't they?
They've been involved since the beginning. It's just getting the traction, the DC Beltway is a little funny animal, right? So I believe since we've been doing more training with the first responders and getting more notifications about the death behind the wheel, is like, man, this isn't just a onesie twosie anymore.
Yeah.
And then we start looking at the inventory and the sales receipts of the airbags, and we're like, this is something. So I have to say, NHTSA, like today announced they launched an investigation into this, and we think that's probably going to help change some statute regulations and help us deal with the consumers that might be in danger. So we're very excited to work with the crew in NHTSA right now.
Good. Well, yeah, I'm glad they're taking it up because I mean, it seems like a ticking time bomb.
Yes.
Potentially millions of these things at some point.
You would have to survey your audience to see how many go home and check out their used vehicle to see what kind of airbag get it at.
What's the average? Again, I don't know much about airbags, but what is that like? Is there life? Is there like a shelf life? Is there like a lifespan of an airbag, or are they designed to last for?
For what I know from engineers, these things are designed to last forever.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no shelf life for it.
Okay.
And that's why when they are putting together a genuine airbag, if it's just slightly off, they have to burn the whole lot. And they catch it on fire, that's what they do, burn it down and start from scratch again. If there's just one thing that doesn't meet the standard.
I see.
Obviously, the Chinese manufacturers are not doing that.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Bud Rice, Automotive Business Coalition, Cal ABC.
Thank you. Great presentation. I have to be honest with you. Sometimes I listen to things like this and I get sad about the story. And then you move from sad to mad.
Yes.
And you may have said this, but sometimes when I'm listening, I get stuck on something that somebody says and I'm thinking about it for a minute, but you're still going on and talking. And so you may have said something like this. So if you did, I apologize. But if I were to compare the pricing of a new unit versus one of these bad boy units, is it $1,200 if you bought it new and is $600 if you buy it from one of the bad guys? What is it in terms of?
Originally, the counterfeiters. I've been on counterfeit for 30 years with my prior employment with Homeland Security, and we found that at first it's $15 an airbag is what they're going to offer for you online, and then they realize, if we really look like a genuine product, we can raise that price to be that competitive level with a genuine airbag. Now, I think they keep the airbag numbers a little lower, but I haven't bought one in a while.
Most of the ones I've bought, which is way too many, is somewhere between $250 and $450, where the genuines, they range all over, depending on what it is, $700 to $1,200, depending on the manufacturer and the vehicle. So they are considerably less. You don't see them. But to John's point, they keep raising that price point because our message has been, if the price is too good to be true, it probably is. And they're realizing that and they're just making more money on it. So if they're selling them that cheap, and to John's point, they were $15, $20 10 years ago with the same components, there's hardly any material in those.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying is a good one would have been $800 and a bad one is $400. So for $400, some guy dies.
Exactly. And, and that's the point of why these vehicles end up in those salvage auctions. A lot of times it is the cost of all the airbags that are in there. And there's another thing, we say salvage auctions. There are companies that are self-insured that put their vehicles through salvage auctions with clean titles. So don't always get hung up on a salvage title being the only way that this can happen.
I think 4 of these were titles that were clean. They were wrecked, put into an auction, sold with a clean title, and then repaired. One went back to a lot, and then re-entered back into the rental arena to be rented out and then died. The driver died. So the salvage title is the key indicator. Another thing is the price point of the vehicle. We think, they don't. The high-end vehicles, we see that, especially in California out here, because that's what the inspectors are looking for with the highway patrol. But these were, the mid-level ones where the family's buying that car for their daughter. And I don't know how many times the story is, it's my daughter, I just bought the car for her. So that price point between $6,000 to $8,000 vehicle, if you have to put in a $1,000 airbag, well, that shop is losing that money. So they go to what makes them more money, but I think they don't really know. I don't know if they know what they're doing until they start clipping wires and putting in resistors to trick the car, then they should know. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moderator, can we open it up for advisory group members to ask questions and comments through the WebEx?
All right, we're going to ask our advisory group members to raise their hands. There's no hands up just yet. I'm going to say you have no takers.
Okay, we will open it up for public comment here in the room first. Christina? I'll get to you, Gene. Can we squeeze in another chair from the front row there? Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Christina Cooperin, 352 Innovation, and as an engineer, I very much resemble your comments. I just specialize in engines, not airbags. But I wanted to ask, this is fantastic information. I wanted to ask if you guys are doing any proactive work in regards to potential battery fraud and when it comes to the EV with the software and whatnot. Because that is the scary thing. I found an article and I wrote down your email, so I'm going to forward you the article. It was out of Canada where this company was purchasing EVs out of auction, fixing them up and selling them as used. And they said they personally witnessed some Teslas come out of auction with sandbags where some of the battery modules were supposed to be with the software wiped. And that is just a profoundly dangerous situation when your whole battery management system has inaccurate data to control. And with the lithium-ion batteries having such a small window of stable operation, I would love to work with you guys to help keep people safe on that.
Yep. So I'm excited to say that I hate to call him out, but we have a Tesla representative in the room today. So we have been engaged with Tesla for the last few months talking about it, because one of my concerns is we don't know what's happening in the EV community. The charging stations really got my attention, so I put everybody on alert. One of these things are going to catch on fire. I need to know about that so we can do some research with Tesla and find out if that's a bad part or not. And then we also work really close with U.S. Customs and Border Protection on a daily basis, daily phone calls to help educate the officers at the port of entries to start help identifying what may be looking. And they don't know a lot about the EV world yet, but as they get more specialized in that environment and any knowledge we have to share with them, then that's going to be important to identify that coming in to our country.
Okay, if I may, I wanted to help my friends with the transition to EVs, and so I put together resources to help with that and online. So I'll talk to you after the meeting or whatever because that might help you too.
Not only Tesla, with Rivian and any other manufacturers that have EV vehicles, we all have points of contact. We look at it this way: A2C2's got its group. We don't care what brand it is. We are not going to ignore any information that comes in to help protect the consumer.
We all need to work together to do that. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christina. But Gene, excuse me. Side nurse, collision, Gene Lopez.
Just got to get the timer right.
Nah, yeah.
Wow.
You're learning quickly,
Wow.
John.
Hi, Jim Lopez with Siders. And so I'm affiliated with a lot of collision repair associations, one being the California Auto Body Association that's represented here on the board. But there's also the National Auto Body Council, Collision Industry Council, National Auto Body. And you mentioned that you had gone to some shops. I think, so we get a car in with a couple of deployed airbags. It's just about going to be a total, just about. But I think we need to help you to identify, and we can just by look, we should be able to identify a counterfeit bag. But yeah, we have SEMA coming up, and I don't know if you're affiliated with any of the marketing, especially equipment there, and if you will be there, but there are opportunities for you to bring this to the collision industry, and I'd like to help with that.
We actually are going to meet with the Automotive Roundtable in SEMA this year.
Oh, very good.
5:30 in the afternoon.
That's exclusive. Yeah, you guys are big dogs there. Yeah.
Yeah, big dog. I think we have to buy him pizza. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is the collision CIC. We also we met with them a few years ago. Went really well. We got another engagement coming up in 2026 to meet with them.
Okay, good.
We are at SEMA. We are at Apex. We do walk the floor and talk to vendors that are there that are selling parts and try to identify the part before it even makes it to the
good for you
environment. So
yeah,
we've been doing that for 10
Mike
years.
Anderson yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Involved in SCRS's they have 3 sessions on Thursday on
Yes.
inspections. So
Yes.
Mike and I are meeting Monday.
Oh, good.
We embed this content into
Good.
the sessions.
That's great to know. All right. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
This is important. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gene. Anybody else in the room? Okay, moderator, we'll open it up for public comments on the WebEx.
All right, now is the time for the public to raise their hands by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take just a few more seconds to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request, do you wish to continue?
I think you can close it. Anyone else? I was just going to say, because I'm noodling ideas, I always do, ask people who work with me, just things that we could do regulatorily speaking. We're obviously in a position regulating the automotive repair industry to make a difference potentially. And I don't know if you had any thoughts. You don't have to answer today, but give it some thought. That's where I go to, is to start thinking about legislatively or regulatorily what we could do to make a difference.
I think that the awareness part is very, very keen at this point. A lot of folks, like when we reach out to the people who purchased, we know they were bad airbags. We don't get a response back for the fear of there's going to be some kind of repercussion for that. We're not there for that. So that's why the A2C2, the website's available. If technicians have questions, they can reach out to us. We can help get that airbag out of their hand.
Okay.
They don't. What do you do with it once you identify it? It's an explosive device. In California, they just take them out to a field after we do a search warrant, and they just blow them up. So they have everybody there to seize it, do the search warrants. We pull them out of the shops, and then they blow them up that same day. So I think awareness is key, and then knowing that we're available is also that our team is available, both in U.S. and Canada. So.
Okay.
I think too, the shops should know what the risk is of these putting them in there, because I think that sometimes they're under the impression that this is just an aftermarket part, and that's the challenge in automotive is, there's OE, there's aftermarket, which are both acceptable, but then they assume that these counterfeits are just the aftermarket part, and they don't perform anywhere close to what they're supposed to.
Okay. Bud with a follow-up.
Yeah, so I was just going to ask you, and I think you just said it. So there is a secondary market that is a good market. There are people that manufacture these that are acceptable, same level as the manufacturers that can be
Great
used.
clarifying point. There really isn't in the safety restraint space. And I think to John's comment earlier is the amount of engineering that goes into an airbag system is unbelievable. I was a technician for 10 years before I came to GM, and I thought I knew a lot about airbags. I had all the GM's training and certification, and to find out the engineering that goes into that cover is unbelievable. The tear seams, how far apart they are, the plasticity of the material to make sure that it ruptures, make sure that emblem doesn't come up. It's crazy. And I think that the aftermarket doesn't want to play in that space with all the liability, because one of the things with airbag systems is they have to comply with FMVSS 208, which is a system, so the whole vehicle. So for the aftermarket to make sure that they complied with that, they'd have to buy these vehicles, put them through the crash testing that happens when the vehicles are designed, and I just don't think it's a place to play in. But other components of the aftermarket, because the aftermarket is involved about everywhere else.
Yeah, so basically you're saying OEM or nothing is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I would say, because they're the only ones that test to meet that FMVSS, criteria.
Okay, thank you.
Considering that, the first airbags are coming up on 40 years old now, right? That, you better have something that works. I mean, these cars are still on the road, these late 80s cars when they first started coming out. So, yeah, it's a scary thought.
And we also, when the Dakota recall, there was airbags pulled out, and they weren't even a Dakota airbag. There was already a counterfeit airbag in that vehicle. So we were recovering the counterfeit airbags that the consumer took to a shop to, hey, take out my Dakota bag. Sure, I'll put in this one, that I just bought online. And then that airbag was counterfeit. Now you know that guy, right?
Oh, I have a Dodge Durango that I'm still waiting for a Dakota airbag, and apparently that information is available somewhere because I get a door hanger from some guy that wants to replace my airbag.
Oh, yeah.
Wait till I get that door bag again.
I'm meeting with Highway Patrol tomorrow.
I will forward it to Highway Patrol because they guarantee he's selling counterfeit airbags. Because if Dodge doesn't have them, he doesn't.
Right. Right, guys. I was wondering about that.
Yeah, I know. All right, anybody else? Excellent presentation. Thank you for being here today, both of you.
Thank you.
John.
Thank you very much.
Bob.
Yes, thank you.
We'll stick around for questions.
Thank you. All right, our next presentation, Clay Leak with the Bureau's Executive Office to give us an update 1 year later from our hard start implementing the Vehicle Safety Systems Inspection Program. He'll get into kind of the soft start, hard start, mandatory start date issues with the new program. But we're essentially a little over a year now since the program has been fully implemented statewide.
All right. Yeah, thank you for the introduction. My name is Clay Leak, just here to provide a brief update on our Vehicle Safety System Inspection Program. As Pat mentioned, we've been in flight for a little over a year now. So a little bit of discussion around kind of how implementation went, some lessons learned, some program metrics and data, kind of showing what's been done to date. And then we'll conclude with some questions. So real quickly, in terms of background, Assembly Bill 471 authorized BAR to consolidate our existing brake and lamp programs into a single Vehicle Safety System Inspection Program, or VSSI, as we call it. We saw an opportunity certainly to create some efficiencies by consolidating two programs into one and reducing some of the overhead costs. We also saw an opportunity to take what was a completely paper-based manual process and automate it, similar to what we've done with Smog Check. A lot of the framework for Smog Check was able to be reused. So things like centralized web-based software distribution, which we do for Smog Check, something we can also do for VSSI, palm vein authentication, digital certificate purchasing, right? Those were all modules we could very easily just replicate and use for VSSI because it was already developed for Smog Check. And lastly, a huge opportunity to collect some data and get some visibility to the program. The previous iterations of brake and lamp really didn't allow us to do that. We couldn't monitor the inspections. We couldn't really even tell how many certificates were issued, just how many certificates we sold, right? So a large blind spot for us in terms of what the program was doing and how it was performing. Next slide. So in terms of the implementation approach, we took a three-phase approach. The first phase being licensing VSSI stations and technicians. That started on March 27th of 2024. Secondly, beginning the vehicle safety system inspections, which started on July 8th of 2024. And finally, ending the brake and lamp programs as they existed, which ended on September 27th of 2024. A little bit more detail around phase 3. Again, on September 27th of 2024, the existing brake and lamp programs officially ended. That means that the existing licenses were no longer valid, both in terms of station and adjuster, and that stations and adjusters were no longer permitted to issue brake and lamp certificates. We proactively collected and refunded all of the unused certificates, so they weren't, left out there. And finally, our enforcement group carefully monitored brake and lamp certificates that were submitted to DMV after that date. Not that there couldn't be, because there were some that were issued and just didn't make their way to DMV, but obviously as we got past that September 27th date, all of those certificates were worth looking at and making sure they were valid. The grandparenting process, another part of the process I wanted to talk through a little bit. One of the things we did to ensure we had sufficient program area coverage was to allow existing brake and lamp adjusting stations whose licenses were in good standing on March 27th of 2024 to forego the application fee and become a licensed VSSI stations. So this streamlined process provided a graceful entry for, stations in good standing that were currently providing brake and lamp services. In fact, some of the criteria that we had originally come up with, we softened based on some comments we received at this meeting early on. So really glad that we were kind of able to provide a fair process for, good brake and lamp technicians and stations, and ultimately provide better program area coverage on day one. It is worth noting, of course, that upon renewal, the ASC certifications that are required for licensure, for individual licensure, will be required. So you were able to get in the door without those ASCs, and that would give you a full year to go ahead and get the ASCs required for renewal. So we felt like that was a pretty good balance, and for the most part, felt like that worked really well in terms of making sure we had the stations and technicians available on day one. So in terms of program status, as of September 28th, 2025, 517 VSSI stations, right at where our target was. We actually went live a few stations lighter than what we had wanted, but over the last year have kind of caught up to the target number. 816 VSSI stations, just over 23,000 inspections initiated, 195,000 certificates issued, almost 38,000 failed inspections, which comes right about to a 16% failure rate. So now that we are collecting this data, we certainly have some program metrics to look at. Failure reasons is one of the more interesting ones. The most common VSSI failure reasons: first, open safety recalls. This was obviously something we were not looking at as part of brake and lamp. So huge improvement to the program, and really glad that we were able to integrate that piece. I think that's a really critical piece for so many consumers. The lighting system and brake system coming in second and third, and then passenger compartment, SRS light and cracked windshield, and then subsequently tires and wheels, with subcategories being worn tires and TPMS light illuminated. So overall, in terms of lessons learned, we really felt that the rollout of this program was a huge success. Having recently rolled out, OIS testing, and several other large program enhancements, we felt like there was a lot of lessons learned for us to lean on. We've learned a lot over the last 10 years as we've rolled out different program components. So one minor thing I think we could definitely do better next time is make sure we catch all the cross-references to other laws and regulations. We continue to clean up some of those just cross-references we didn't anticipate. So I think, next time we do this, we'll definitely take a little bit of a deeper dive and make sure we catch all those up front. One of the big lessons learned and big benefits, as I mentioned earlier, was the ability to reuse a lot of the existing technology components that were already built for SmogCheck. Certificate purchasing, station management, right? We were able to integrate the VSSI inspection directly into the existing CalVis software, which is already deployed to all SmogCheck stations. So a lot of benefits there. Next, communicate. I think with any program change, we go out of our way to overly communicate. News articles in our newsletter, Facebook, all the communication channels, bag meetings. So certainly if there's ways in which we could have communicated and we didn't, I would love to hear feedback on ways we could better communicate, but I think we leveraged every possible channel we had along the way to overly communicate, which is what we will continue to try to do when we make program changes of this nature. Another challenge is always, program area coverage in remote areas. We had this challenge with when rolling out OIS as well. It always takes a big push at the last minute, and we end up, contacting some of these stations in remote areas and convincing them to get signed up and get on board. So we will continue to do that, but that's always a challenge for changes of this nature, is making sure we have areas and even remote areas of the state. And lastly, this was actually another issue that was brought to our attention at a BAG meeting. Kind of establishing a process for exceptions or unusual circumstances. And at the time, we really couldn't think of any exceptions or unusual circumstances that would require some sort of bypass or intervention. But after a lot of discussion, we did establish a process. And two, so far out of 168,000 or whatever the number was, we have had two exceptions. One being parts availability, and the other being related to a regional-based safety recall, which I didn't know was a thing, but a safety recall that only applies in certain parts of the country and not in other parts of the country based on weather or other conditions. So in California, the vehicle's fine, but in another area, it wasn't fine. So the recall wasn't cleared. So we had to go in and bypass that particular piece of the recall because the vehicle was in California. But in the national recall database, it was still flagged as not having been repaired. So interesting, some of these odd circumstances you don't think of, but I'm glad we were able to establish a relief valve, and that process has worked well the few times we've had to use it. I think that's it for me. I guess I'll take, oh, pardon me, yes. For additional information on the program, there is quite a bit of information on our website. Steps to obtain licensure, also the vehicle safety system inspection manual, the equipment checklist, information on biometric enrollment, which is required for VSSI as well as smog check, and also some tutorials and best practices on the actual inspection, all available through the website, and would encourage anybody interested in the program to use those resources. Thanks for catching that one.
Thanks, Clay. Good presentation. Yep.
Nice job.
Yep. Any questions, comments about Clay's presentation? Advisory group members? Okay. Dave? Yeah.
Thanks, Clay. Of the 16% that fail, do we know how many get fixed and re-inspected and pass?
Not off the top of my head. We could probably put that together.
It should be interesting to know, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if they're getting fixed and if the result is what we had hoped, that, you know, unsafe vehicles are getting repaired and back on the road.
Well, that would be an interesting thing to look at. Yeah, we can take that back. Yeah, good suggestion.
Advisory group members on the WebEx. Moderator, could you ask and see if anyone has a comment or question?
Nobody's got their hand up yet, but now's your opportunity.
Okay.
No hands now either.
Okay, we'll open it up for public comment on this. Gene. Yeah. That's true.
So thanks for the presentation. And I don't know, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when we started talking about this, I thought about ADAS, and I still am. And I don't think it's beyond what these stations do to run a diagnostic trouble code and identify if one of these modules is not operating correctly. If we're going to check for safety and we're looking at salvage titled vehicles, and ADAS is, you know, since 2015 and even earlier, but since 2015, those devices have become more prevalent, and I think we should have them checked out.
Okay. Yeah, looking back at what comes next slide might have been appropriate or prompted some of the conversation. ADAS is certainly a feature we would love to roll into the program. The lack of standardization around that data makes it very difficult to roll into the program the same way as you would smog check or emissions control data. That said, obviously we have some authority through regulation to continue to grow the program and add new features. So I think I'm totally open to any additional ideas on thoughts and ways we can improve the program and add additional components. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, when it comes to standardization around ADAS and reading a DTC, they're readily available through a variety of tools, whether it's an OE scan tool or an aftermarket scan tool or a scan tool you buy at local AutoZone. They're going to prompt those DTCs. So we should look at that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Suggestion.
Yep. Yeah, that's, as Dave says, talk about addressing the counterfeit issue. It always was our goal to have ADAS be a part of this program. We just knew we couldn't get there on day one when the regulations were adopted. So we kind of went with the bare bones. I wouldn't say bare bones. It was pretty comprehensive compared to what we had before, but we knew ADAS was going to be the next big chunk that we were going to have to bite off on this program to integrate it into the program. So then maybe it's time. We'll look at that.
Yeah, like I say, we're all ears in terms of ideas and in terms of how we can improve the program and incorporate those additional features. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Gene. Additional public comments here in the room? Okay. Moderator, can you open it up for public comment on this agenda item?
WebEx is taking public comment on the latest agenda item. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take just a few more seconds to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request, you wish to continue?
Let's close the public comment for this agenda item. Okay, thanks, Clay.
Thank you.
Yep. And we'll look to get the information about the repair and reinspection rate of those vehicles that are failing at the 16-17% rate. Okay, next items on the agenda. The enforcement statistics update and licensing statistics update. Those are both handouts from our licensing program and our enforcement program, and we usually take those as one public comment. Let's ask if there's any questions. They are handouts, standing information that we provide and update quarterly. Any questions? Yes, Bud.
Just out of curiosity, how many referee stations are there and how much are they doing? Do we know from a statistics perspective?
There's 34, 33 referee sites. Oh, okay. Okay.
What are they doing for volume? Is there any, how much are they getting through there? And these are all mostly older vehicles, I would imagine, right?
There's a whole host of reasons why someone might come to the referee. And we've got a regulation package actually to identify all of those reasons and put costs to them.
Yeah, I apologize. I might have missed the question. Referee volume in terms of
inspection volume.
Yeah, I believe it's roughly 20,000 a year, about 20,000 or so inspections, if I'm not mistaken.
Garrett Torgerson with our engineering and research.
Reserve my right to phone a friend. Here we go.
So it depends on what you want to call an inspection. So the referees right now, back in the, when we were just doing like bar 97 inspections, where every inspection that came in got a full hour inspection, unless it was like an engine change or something like that, would get a longer inspection. We'd do about 10,000 a year. Now, since COVID, we had to get more creative in the way we're doing stuff with all of that kind of going on. And we also changed how we're using the referee as a tool to discourage some fraud that's occurring. So in many cases right now, if we see fraud occurring and we, received authority, I forget through which bill, but they gave us the authority to, interrupt an inspection and stop the issuance of a certificate. Well, those inspections then have to go to the referee. We don't, in many cases, because there's quite a volume of these that we're trying to intercept and stop, we don't necessarily go through a full inspection on these, especially with OBD related issues. So we'll basically go, you have to go to the referee to get that cleared, and then you still have to return to the industry to get a full inspection. So we're not tying up as many, the referee resources at that time. But the net result is that we end up culling through a lot more inspections, but they are not necessarily inspections in which a certificate would be issued if the vehicle was in a passing condition. So, we'll do anything, I think, from 15 to 20,000 inspections a year of that nature right now. That's kind of what we're looking at. But so there's complexity. It's a nuanced answer, but that's.
Yeah, so I was thinking that there are different things like Pat's saying. My sense is that as we're going here, more and more shops are choosing not to renew their older equipment in terms of keeping them up to date and doing those kinds of tests. So I think there's some phasing out that some shops are doing. They're trying to stay to where they can do repairs and that kind of thing and stay in that mode, but they're not interested in doing less and less cars for a higher pay of equipment payments and that kind. So I was wondering if those vehicles are the ones that are coming over to the referee as well, if the number of shops providing that service is going down. That's kind of where I was headed.
Not in general. I mean, the referees to handle smog check disputes, not necessarily certification of vehicles. So, and certainly, yeah, obviously, as the population of older vehicles shrinks, there are shops that it's just not worth them
right
to maintain that equipment. But that probably loads another conversation that we'll be having soon around our contracted network to inspect.
So you're saying it's more likely they're going to go to another shop that still does provide that.
Correct.
In the neighborhood as opposed to going to a referee.
Correct. I mean, there are shops that the majority of their volume is bar 97 inspections, right? That just depends on the area, right?
Well, we don't encourage use of the referee for, if someone just wants to, I just want to go get a free inspection at a station, they've got to basically have a reason to go to the referee, because otherwise people would just abuse that resource. We have a limited number of stations. We're trying to do this service for the population to handle these disputes, as Clay was saying. And then we also have to see a bunch of other things, like if a vehicle gets its catalytic converter stolen or something like that happens to the vehicle where they need a special inspection. When we were going through the catalyst theft issues, we had a lot of the volume was being sucked up in that. So we do what we can to discourage that use. And so the referees are not a viable replacement for a smog check station that's performing that work.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you.
You also know they do the referees do the noise abatement inspections for vehicles that are cited with excessive noise. So they have engine changes, a whole host of inspection reasons outside of just smog. Thank you. Other questions or comments from advisory group members? Moderator, anybody on the WebEx? On the enforcement statistics and licensing statistics updates?
There are no hands from our members.
Okay, we'll ask for any public comment on those two handouts. Yes. Salvador, was it? Sam, sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, my name's Sam Noriega. I'm with Smog Check Plus. I just had a quick question. I'm not sure if it's related to this exact slide deck, but it is revolving around enforcement. And I was just kind of curious. I'm aware that the bar files data only cases, and I guess it was referenced in a slide deck maybe about July of last year. And I was kind of curious, is there a process to exclude vehicles with known OBD communication irregularities? For example, like certain platforms such as early 2000 GMs, is there a team that tracks these patterns so that normal platform behavior is not mistaken for fraud or at the station level? Kind of similar to like the OBD2 reference guide, where there's a list of items on there to say, oh, this specific vehicle doesn't complete its monitors or this or that. Are there certain vehicles that are also taken into consideration when looking at the PID behavior? Like this one, the RPMs raise, but these other PIDs don't raise. And I think a lot of GMs do that naturally, it seems like. And I'm just kind of curious if that's taken into consideration when doing those data only cases.
Does anybody want to jump into that one? Yes, obviously that is when doing data cases, we're looking at data cases relating to smog check. We have a whole team looking at those kinds of irregularities, as you have called them. Yeah, we found a friend, Okay.
So yeah, when we're looking at the data, it's sort of similar philosophically to the way we do the STAR stuff. And the STAR, you're compared to like vehicles and all of these different metrics you do. What is normally happening with these vehicles? And of course, as you suggested and said, vehicles behave very sometimes peculiar to the various makes and models and the way they were programmed and designed. So we have to take that into account. There's some vehicles for which they support certain PIDs, other ones don't support it. Some vehicles respond in a way that seems to us to be according to the SAE specs, and then other ones don't. So they were certified in conditions that don't necessarily behave the way we think they were supposed to behave, because the manufacturer may have interpreted something differently. And so, yeah, when we're analyzing the data, one of the great things about California is we have such a big fleet that we're able to really kind of dig in and try to isolate, what should this vehicle be doing based upon similar vehicles, so we don't have issues like what you're describing. But that doesn't necessarily mean we're always perfect. And so we're always trying to improve on that and get better.
Thank you. And the only reason I ask is because I come through the accusations for all of 2024, 2025 so far, only for test-only shops. And I kind of put all that stuff on a spreadsheet, all the different vehicles. And there's some pretty consistent vehicles listed there over and over again. And I do know a lot of these people are caught red-handed. There's a lot of stuff on there and those include those vehicles as well. But for me, I see a pattern there. And so I'm just kind of curious. So you guys are looking at that data and you guys are probably excluding certain vehicles with known weird PID behavior.
Yeah, whenever we see things, we try to take that into account. There are certain vehicles, Subaru WRXs, you're going to see a lot of, vehicles that are modified. Yeah, they're going to be regular offenders, but yeah, we try to do that.
Got it.
But Sam, it'll probably take a while, right, for the stats to start showing themselves. If there's a delay in being able to pinpoint that these cars are a problem or these cars are an issue.
So when we roll out anything, so we don't have, it's not like we have just automated processes that just look at vehicles as soon as they're coming into the program. When we start looking at behaviors to potentially, target activities, as part of that process is identifying the outliers. So it's not like we turn the dogs loose and then figure out what the carnage is that's all done at the same time. So we're trying to be proactive in the way we address problematic vehicles.
One more question, I'm sorry. For beta stations, do you know if that data is pulled any different or if it's pulled the same way? The same way. Okay, got it. Thank you.
I didn't know where you were pulling this from on the enforcement statistics, Sam, but was it?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was on this one, but the other one from July is about enforcement. For the specific packet.
Okay. Yeah, this is looking at complaint trends and such. I didn't see anything with respect to smog inspections and behavior with respect to smog check. I'll look at that. Might have been an earlier presentation, like you said. Moderator, any comment from the public through the WebEx on these two handouts?
We're going to make a final call out on public comment for enforcement. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise a hand by tapping that hand button at the bottom of the screen. Dial-in users, dial *3 to raise your hand, and we will call on people in the order we have requests. We're going to take just a few more seconds to see if we have a request for public comment. Seeing no request, do you wish to continue?
Yes, I'll continue with the agenda. Thank you very much. Now we will have agenda item number 9, public comment for any items that were not on today's agenda. You do? Okay, Dave Kusa.
Yeah, I wanted to say thanks to Denise Cunningham for working with ASCCA. Great presentation on the updates on the CAP program, and also just to the BAR in general. We had one of our other chapters where one of the local BAR officers did a presentation on the latest, greatest regulations for that chapter. So appreciate the continued interaction with BAR and industry to help us stay on track and be in compliance and do the best thing that we can for the consumers and the car driving public of California. So thank you very much.
Hey, Dave, for that statement, and appreciate Denise and you being able to get together to set up some dates for presentations at the chapters. Other comments? Yeah, Bud Rice.
So I was just curious, Pat, when there's a problem that pops up, you guys all kind of get together in the office and you go, all right, let's see, who's going to get this one? Is it Bill? How about Clay or, Matt Gibson? How do you? These guys are coming up and they're doing some pretty heavy duty stuff. So it must be when something pops up, you go, this is Bill Thomas. Let's give this one to you.
Yeah, I have some great support in the office, I'll say. Again, surrounding myself with, and the entire office with a lot of experts is very beneficial.
Good guys. Good
Yeah. Other public comment relating to anything that wasn't on the agenda necessarily? Moderator, I don't see anyone in the room, so maybe we'll open it up on the WebEx.
All right, we're going to give last call for our members, and we're going to ask that our members of the public raise their hands as well. I saw a hand up. Please put it back up if you wish to make a public comment. And we're going to call on Alyssa. Hold on just a moment, please. We're sending you a request to unmute your microphone.
Hello, do you have me this time?
Yes, indeed.
There we go. I only had to go through, I had to turn the computer off and use my phone for whatever reason. Anyways, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to actually say anything. And I actually do have a question on some existing things. I wasn't able to be here for the entire thing, so it may have been stated already. However, with the Write It Right program, we're running into a bit of an issue with insurance companies utilizing the photo of an invoice example instead of the verbiage within, because they actually contradict themselves. So on one hand, I have the insurance companies, we provide them with an itemized invoice as required. And then there's a conflict that's occurring because on one hand, the industry has been quote unquote doing it a certain way for a long time, but that doesn't mean it's the right way. So we're actually trying to do it the right way. And I'm in contact with the BAR constantly saying, okay, am I doing this right? Am I doing that right? I'd rather ask permission than have you guys show up upset. So that's an issue that we're running into with the insurance companies. And earlier when I said, can somebody please define the word reasonable? Because that one's used against us quite often in the automotive industry. And honestly, I'm very tired of having to look somebody in the eye and say, I'm sorry that your policy isn't covering something that should be done properly to your car. So it's an ongoing problem that we're having. And I'm just looking for some clarity within the Write It Right program, because we actually invoice our paint and we attach that to our invoice that we provide to the customer before we touch the car. And the insurance companies are refusing to cover that. So that's an issue. And that's under that word reasonable, which is why I used the word reasonable earlier. And also geographic area has turned into, from your very local area, say 5 miles, to counties. So there's some clarity that needs to happen on that. And I know you guys are becoming new with the regulatory portion of the BAR under these things.
Time.
Thank you very much.
Missed the end. I missed the end there. Okay, thank you, Alyssa. I think we've had some dialogue outside of this meeting with Alyssa and the shop that she works for. So we have taken to heart the comments you have made with respect to the Write It Right and as it relates to paint and materials. And we are working on some updates and some additional examples as it relates to that area of collision repair.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yes, so that's coming. We're working on it. And then what's the other? Oh, the reasonable issue. Oh, no, I know what it was. The geographic area. There is no definition yet with respect to storage fees in geographic areas, although we are working on that, as you have pointed out, through a regulation package that we hope to have out in the public arena in its final form for public comment by the end of the year. And then hopefully have him adopted and take effect. My best guess would be by summer of next year, maybe sooner, depending on the amount of comments and any additional modifications we need to make to that package once we hear back from the public on that package. So that's coming. So there shouldn't be anything that I know of as it relates to bar regulations, speaking to geographic areas in terms of storage and so forth. But maybe there's something that I'm not aware of that you could enlighten me on.
This is moderator. We're going to try and get Alyssa back.
Okay, I'm right here, and yes, I'll go ahead and email you, Patrick.
Yeah, I'm not sure what geographic areas that you're encountering in terms of some disputes with respect to that. We do have some regulations that are dealing with geographic representation of storage fees and rate, and that is not a package that's been finalized and adopted by any means.
Okay. Well, I'll just keep keeping on, and I'll just look see what we could do, and I'll go ahead and send you an email in regards to that. I appreciate all of your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Elaine. I'm not even going to try the last name. Please help us out in the enunciation. All right, Elaine, we've sent you a request to unmute your microphone. We're going to send you another request. If you're on a mobile device, you may need to hit the ... in order to find the unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, go ahead, please.
It is Elaine Niederhaus, and I'm with Crash Champions. I'm sorry if I did not hear anything regarding the towing situation that we had with the last meeting. Have we moved forward with the stance that the bar is going to be taking with this?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch was there a question in there?
Yes, I wanted to find out because with the last meeting, we brought up the towing and there wasn't anything final with it with the last meeting as far as how it's going to be handled and how what the involvement with the bar was going to be. Do we have any kind of an update as far as, with the first tow, are we doing it separate or there still hasn't been a stance yet?
I didn't hear that part of your comments, that there was a question there. Yes, we are working on a regulation to update and clarify some of the issues that were raised at the last advisory group meeting in July.
So right now, if the bar were to come in, is there anything that we would be like held accountable for, or is it we just got to wait till the regulation's completed?
Held accountable with respect to towing, it would be an issue that might come up through a consumer complaint, but it is not something I think I would say that we're not proactively looking for an issue to address in this issue while we're still looking to make some modifications to the regulatory package.
Okay, great, because I just wanted to make sure. We've only got one insurance company that's making us do it, so I just wanted to find out if we had to keep moving forward.
Making you do, what's that?
As far as
separate documents, yeah.
Separate documentation, everything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was our expectation that we were going to be addressing that, and so everybody pretty much would kind of lay low on this until we were able to clarify and make some corrections to that package.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to confirm.
Is there anything else, moderator, or the last speak, Elaine? No?
Nope,
okay.
That was it.
That was our last request
Okay.
for public.
All right, thank you. Yeah, stay tuned for that package as soon as we can get it out there. We're looking at working on the language with legal counsel and our subject matter experts who are working on this package to make sure we get it right this time. Although a 45-day public comment period, please, everyone, make sure you're involved in that process, because it's once we get a package adopted, it's kind of hard to change it. I mean, you got to go back at the old game of chutes and ladders. You got to go back to the very beginning and start all over again. So, yeah, we'll be announcing that, making sure everybody has an opportunity to comment on it. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Our next agenda item is an announcement of our next meeting and meetings for the calendar year. So you can just put these down. Our next meeting is going to be Thursday, January 29th of 2026. And then the following dates will be the April 23rd, July 30th, and October 22nd. I think those are all Thursdays, right? We've tried to keep the 3rd to 4th, somewhere around that range of the month. All in the HQ2 or headquarters 2 building of the Department of Consumer Affairs, which is the room we're in right now. But always make sure you take a look at the final agenda and notice for the meeting to make sure it is this room. Let's see. Okay, that should do it for today. We are adjourning. We're out on time today. I'm happy to say maybe that timer and that was running help us keep everybody their comments into the valuable points that we needed to hear about, and not drag on to some extent beyond the time frame that we had scheduled for the meeting, which is 1:00. So I'm happy to say report that we're adjourning early. Have a great rest of your calendar year. I can't even believe I'm saying holiday season. I'm seeing stuff up in some of the stores with Christmas and the other seasons coming, and we're not even to Halloween yet. So, but enjoy the rest of your year, and we'll look forward to seeing you in January at our next meeting. Thank you.